friends?
Yes, I guess you go to my page and then you can just, share the live that's there.
Okay. So other people can watch it.
Yep. Okay. So we are live. I believe we are live. So let me see. 1 second. We try to do our part to make you a part of that conversation. So I know it's been a while, guys, but we're back. We had to come back, and I know it seems kind of like the world is upside down right now. So I really want to talk about it. I want to welcome all of my guests here who are with me today. Let me just open the screen up so we can see some of these beautiful people. And I'd like to welcome everyone here to the room. Yeah, I can see everybody. Yep. Hey, Craig, Brother Kaya, Tristan, Dr. Selesia, and Tracy. As you already know, with the community town hall format, we like to just kind of have like a casual conversation and just discuss things. We're very real here. We're very honest. We're very forthcoming with these topics. We know Facebook, their algorithms. We know how they do the shadow banning. We know how they kind of pick up on certain things. So while I'll say let's be careful in some of the things we say, don't shy away from speaking truth, because at the end of the day, it's all about truth. So I do want to start this conversation off talking about the current situation. When I reference the world seeming a little bit upside down, I kind of want to start by talking about our New York City mayor. Now, I know everyone here isn't in New York, but what's happening here in New York is basically indicative of what's happening across the country. And I think it's foreshadowing what we're all going to be dealing with very soon in this country. Hey, maybe I'm wrong, but things have just kind of been progressing in a certain direction. Now, our mayor, Bill DeBozo, well, I call him Bill DeBozo, but Bill DeBlasio, he's gone to really extreme measures to force New Yorkers to take the jab, right? He's recently implemented the what is it called? The key to NYC pass, where basically everyone has to show a vaccination card in order to, according to him, fully participate in society. So if you want to go to a restaurant, a movie theater, an entertainment venue, a gym, you have to show proof. You have to show your papers. You got to show that you're vaccinated so you can get into these places. And besides that, there's also this mandate where employers pretty much have to require vaccinations of their employees or have them regularly tested. But as far as city employees are concerned, they have a deadline of the 27th, which is this coming Monday. So that's like Board of Ed and a lot of the city agencies where they have to be vaccinated or they will lose their jobs. Okay. Now, a lot of people say you're not being forced to do it. You have a choice. But what kind of choice is that? You have a choice to take the vaccination, take that injection, or you have a choice to not work and be able to support your family. So some people may say that's not a good choice. But I'm interested in you guys' thoughts. So I would like to start with Brother Tristan. Concerning the mandate, is this something that you feel is necessary? Because we know COVID is real, right? We do know that. But do you feel that this mandate, this requirement, is something that is absolutely necessary in order to, number one, keep New Yorkers safe, and two, just help us get towards a better path of economic stability?
Absolutely not. I think that really what are they actually giving you? Nothing that has been said from day one has been consistent with, okay, well, we're going to protect you, or so get this first vaccine shot. Then it's, a couple months later, oh, well, it doesn't protect you, so now you got to get a booster shot, or you got to get the second one. and now they got a third one, and then who knows, within the next year you might get up to 2 more booster shots or whatever, which nothing has necessarily been proven that it actually protects you from anything. If anything, natural immunity, since they're censoring that too, is what I would think actually helps you.
Okay.
And this whole mandate thing is yes, they're going to use their forces in order to put pressure on things so that it will, or just simply because we are a people of convenience. As soon as you start taking those conveniences away, then you'll have people who will, okay, well, I did it because of this, or I did it because of that, not necessarily because it was the wisest choice for you.
Okay. Okay. Well, I know we have a few New Yorkers here. Brother Kaya, I know Shaka, you're also here in New York. Are you in Brooklyn, Brother Shaka? Your mic.
Yes, I certainly am in Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy.
Okay, well, I know you definitely, brother, are very active in the community and politically, and you're also. Would you describe yourself as, I guess, a Democrat, like a Democratic Party supporter?
Yes, I would.
So I'm particularly interested in how you feel about this mandate that has been implemented by DeBlasio and also our new governor, Hochul.
Well, I am angry about it. I think that is very unfair. I think that they have started with one thing and now have morphed into something completely different. So they started off with what they are considering to be a health crisis, and now they've moved over into a violation of the Constitution. They have moved over to a discrimination lawsuit. I think that they are really infringing upon the rights of everyday Americans, and they're treading on very, very dangerous territory because they're trying to set a precedent with this very paternalistic attitude that we know better what's best for you than you do. So as a result, we're going to legislate that you do exactly what it is that we want you to do. They've set up a society, or not a society, they set up a social strata where it is us against them mentality, where they're blaming all of the people who don't want to get the vaccine and saying that they are quote unquote anti-vaxxers. And they're using propaganda and rhetoric to try to smear these people. And these people are just people who would like to, they looked at the equation of their life, they've added it up just like everyone else. They get a different result. And as a result of them having a different result, now they're saying, wait a minute, something must be wrong with your math. The bottom line is all of us want the end to this virus. But now, since the vaccine has come out, that has completely eclipsed all of the other ways of trying to get rid of the virus. And, now they're saying, well, if you don't do it exactly the way we want you to do it, you're not doing it at all. And that's very, very problematic. As the brother said, they have flip-flopped on everything about this vaccine outside of the desire of them for you to get it. But if the vaccine is so safe, why do they have to mandate this? Why do they have to force it down your throat? Why do they have to say to you, the vaccine is safe, you better go and get it? They're taking away the livelihood, especially of the Department of Education workers, and trying to force them into getting this vaccine at all costs. Right now, they have an active date of September 27th. And should they not acquiesce to that date, they are saying that they're going to remove their livelihood for a time. They're going to come back again at another time and see how things are going. And if they don't comply at that point, they are looking to have them involuntarily removed. Now, during the time of this limbo, they're saying that they're not allowing you to work anywhere else. So this is no longer about safety. Now we are talking about completely.
Oh, this is control.
Completely.
Yeah.
Completely.
Okay. All right. Appreciate that, brother. I didn't know that they had that condition that they wouldn't be allowed to work anywhere else. That seems particularly cruel. But
very impressive.
I'd like to take this conversation to Dr. Selesia. I know you're down in Atlanta, right? But aren't you from up here?
I'm from Chicago. I lived in New York for 13 years. The Bronx, Harlem. Well, wait, Harlem, the Bronx, Yonkers, Stamford, Connecticut.
Okay.
Everywhere.
All right.
I'm back and forth between Atlanta here and New York. I teach for Berkeley College. So here's my thing. I want us to all take a step back. Full disclosure, right. I got the Pfizer shot, jab, like y'all want to call it. Because you know they're gonna put that little banner on your video. Yeah,
right.
COVID, but it's too late. So I do have the Pfizer shot. I just got it not too long ago. I think we should take a step back because New York is a different beast. Now, you know, I do not like DeBlasio. I think New York is an outlier. I don't think other states or cities will follow. So maybe certain cities. I think DeBlasio is totally FUD. Okay, he's cap. I think he's doing it for political. Here's the thing: the government botched this last year. The rollout. Right? They botched the rollout because this vaccine is not new. Coronavirus is not a new concept. They botched that. But I think with DeBlasio, he's trying to score political points. You know, I think that's what makes me mad because I do think there should be mandates per industry. Like just like the flu. I think this, you know, and I read somewhere this COVID will become an endemic, right? So just like the flu. So every year you get a flu shot, even though I've never got the flu shot and I never got the flu, but I boost my immune system. That's another conversation. I think it's DeBlasio. I think he is totally crazy. And I think the stuff he's putting, because let's think about it. You need a vaccine card to get into restaurants and all this stuff. All people are going to do is go. No one wants to be forced into anything. All people are going to do is go to Yonkers or Westchester or Stamford or somewhere else. I think he's off base, and I think it should be really focused locally. Because where I'm at in Atlanta, I do agree with weekly testing because I work in entertainment. So we go on sets, you got to get a test, right? But I just
weekly testing is not really a mandate. I mean,
right. I think that's fine. I think where DeBlasio is messing up is I just think he tries to be like a leader, and because I don't think Cuomo would have implemented this, something like this. I think because if you go upstate New York, they was pushing back, and I think now Kathy, I read something with her. She's not gonna get reelected. She's talking about she's gonna start replacing workers with foreign people if they got the vaccine. I just think New York has totally taken a turn, and I've lived there 13 years. I really used to love it. I just think DeBlasio he's really ruined it, and I know it's more politics because it's those things that mandate stuff is not going to work in other states. You don't hear about it anywhere but New York City. Who else is doing what he's doing?
They're doing it in California, in certain parts of California. Yeah, it's very liberal, I guess, like liberal policies.
Certain, but even in San Francisco, if you look at San Francisco, because I was just in San Francisco, if you look at San Francisco and New York City, why do you have mandates? Y'all got the highest vaccination rates. It doesn't make sense. But you look at Mississippi and Alabama, they down in the 30%. So it really gets me mad. I just think it's him. I think it's him. I think it's local. And I think what he's done to New York is an absolute shame.
Well, so to your point, like, you know, because you said it's about politics, I would ask Brother Kaya, do you believe that this virus has been politicized for the most part? Like, I mean, do you think the politicization of this virus has been used to pretty much, I guess, fearmonger people into acting against their own interests?
Absolutely, without a doubt. It has been politicized. And I think it's outright disgusting. You have, as you mentioned earlier, you have individuals who are saying that, well, we're going to take certain things from you, and then hopefully you'll be willing to do something, which is nothing but code for coercion. And they don't even allow that in a court of law. When you sign documents, if you was coerced into doing something, then it's null and void. It doesn't count. I think it's a shame that they are recruiting Black people in our communities to put them on TV to convince others or coerce others in the community to take a shot when they haven't pretty much given a damn about anything that we do, but they are recruiting people who are one of the communities to tell them to take a shot. And if you look at it, Bill DeBlasio, what I find it, the irony in all of this is a man who considered himself one of the people. Now, whether you believe that or not is another thing, but a man who considered himself one of the people and such a progressive man and, you know, pretty much criticized Trump for all the things that he does. Well, I think he should look in the mirror and see exactly who he is. You just may articulate yourself slightly better. And I am not a doctor. I don't claim to be one, but I do have something called common sense. And anything that someone tells me, I will be open to listen to. However, it has to make sense. Just make it make sense. And what we see is so many contradictions and these non sequitur arguments, these nonsensical arguments pertaining to the vaccine and how it's supposed to protect others. And if you don't get it, it is ridiculous. It is absurd. And I think they have just gotten so arrogant where they don't care if it makes sense. I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to do it. And well, you know, that's that. And if history has shown us anything, when you start getting into that field, when you start getting into that area, you are treading on very dangerous territory. You're getting into very dangerous grounds.
So, all right. So I would ask this, I would just pose this question. Do you think that there's a concerted effort on the part of the media, not just our elected officials, to, I would say, conceal the pushback that, the pushback to this mandate, to these mandates? Because I remember when Bill DeBlasio first touted the whole key to New York City pass, this whole thing, speaking to him, you would think that every business in New York City was on board. People were thanking him for doing it. It was a wonderful thing, and it was something that was going to expeditiously get us back to normal. Craig, so like, what are your thoughts on that as it pertains to the media and even social media? Because I've noticed that there's been a lot of protesting in the city, but I haven't seen anything, not in social media or in the media.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Can everybody hear? Is my audio good? My audio's okay?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I to your point, I really do believe that there's been a lot of suppression, and if your science is sound, if you're so strong and sure about your science and that your vaccine will work, you can dispel lies with the truth. I find it interesting that they were so triggered. When I say they, I mean mainstream media and the status quo was so triggered by a tweet that an entertainer put out, Nicki Minaj, and they talked about this tweet for an entire week. Now there are medical professionals, there are scientists, there are other activists, there are other union leaders that have the opposite side of the argument, whose voices are just simply not being heard or being suppressed, who, if the status quo and if the people like Dr. Fauci and the governors and all the CDC and FDA officials, if they believe so much in their science, then they should be able to bring the other side of the argument and bring the people who have the other side of the argument, be able to debate them live in front of the world and put all the so-called disinformation that they are putting out, put that to bed. It's interesting also that the cohorted effort of mainstream media to basically black out all of the pushback that's going on around the world. There's so many protests that's happened here in New York City that literally went like off the radar, and it just makes me it makes me more questionable about why such a concerted effort is being made to just silence everyone except for the voices that they approve. Also, when you speak about hypocrisy and how everything is flip-flopping, one thing I know for sure is that when it comes to the medical professionals, the standing policy still today, and I've checked with several different healthcare employees, the standing policy right now, if you are a healthcare employee who works in one of the hospitals and you contract COVID, you can go to work as long as you're asymptomatic and you have no fever. You don't need a negative test, and you don't even still, at this point, you don't need to be unvaccinated. So it's curious to me as to now why you're mandating healthcare professionals to get the vaccine to keep their patients safe when all through the pandemic, you allowed your healthcare professionals to work in close proximity with all type of patients with positive COVID test. It's really, really, really contradicting.
You're on mute, Tony.
Yeah, my bad. I'm sorry. I try to mute everything so that it doesn't interfere with the audio. Craig, there is a little something wrong with your mic, though, just to let you know. Okay, so before we move on, I do want to say, and this is my opinion, the opinions that I give, they are mine only, and they don't represent those of the people on this panel. But as it pertains to this this mandate and the policies that are being pushed by our bozo mayor, Bill DeBlasio, I believe, and I don't understand, I don't see how anyone could even argue this, that this man is deliberately trying to infect people, because every policy that he's pushing, he's putting people out there. Like, number one, with the kids in the schools, right? We already done mastered remote learning by now, right? We know about remote learning, yet he's still sending all the kids to school, right? In the midst of a surge. You're doing that, right? An admitted surge. You're subjecting the unvaccinated children to, continuous testing. But the children who are vaccinated, you are not even putting them with any requirement to be tested, although they can catch the COVID and they can spread COVID. So I'm trying to understand how we have all of these policies that are anti people who don't want to take the jab, but you're allowing people who are vaccinated to enter spaces without masks. You're allowing them to enter spaces without proving that they don't have the virus. And then you're still blaming everything on unvaccinated people who are constantly subjected to testing and regulations and not being allowed to be anywhere. So if we're in the midst of this massive spread and all of the unvaccinated people are the ones who are under watch, why is it spreading? Who's spreading it? Where's it coming from?
Can I jump in here? Because let me tell you how ridiculous DeBlasio is. I got to stay on him. Okay, I think people should do what they want to do. I do understand there's certain industries.
So you agree with choice. You agree with people having the right to choose.
I do. But you got to also respect my choice. And if I don't want you near me, because you nasty, but that's a different conversation, Right. Some of these people don't respect choices. However, here's what's so dumb about DeBlasio. You had verses in Madison Square Garden. You know how packed that sucker was? They had to show a test. And then Fat Joe had a party. There's been massive, you had the, here's the thing. You know how many people have fake COVID cards? Vaccination cards, but it doesn't make sense. And then he tells the people at the UN, don't think about coming into my city without a vaccination. You telling international leaders that they're already there. So that's what I'm saying. Something is wrong with him. But
even further than that, outside of even the verses, you have to remember, Bill DeBlasio spent the whole summer promoting all of these vaccinated only concerts and major events with thousands of people there.
So, Jim Jones got corona after his verses.
Right. So my point is, how can you even convince me that this man is not trying to purposely infect more people in order to fearmonger them into taking a jab. That's my opinion. So anyway,
okay, I don't know if that's the case, but I just think
he's not that stupid. He's not. No one is that stupid. No one is that stupid because they're just running with one narrative. They're pumping it in your face every day on the news, and
Right.
people, and you know how it is. It's conditioning. This is what they do. That's how they engineer your mind. But let's move on to Joe Biden, our president, our commander-in-chief, who has promised to restore the soul of America. And I would just like to well, first of all, I don't know, you don't have to share your business, but how many people here voted for Joe Biden? Listen, I'm gonna be real.
You did, Tony.
I'm gonna be real. I did
voted for him, and I think
I regret it.
I voted for him. I don't regret it yet, and I think you're gonna get
regret it yet?
No.
Wait.
What else needs to happen?
Please explain.
Well, because you have to have rational thinking, right? And rational thinking leads to kind of rational decision making. So people are looking for him to change racist behavior. People are looking for him to change certain things. Like he said, go out there, use your horse reins and whip people. But we'll get back to that. I do think the agenda, some of the things he has, his biggest mistake to me is you trying to play nice with people that are gangster and trying to cut deals with Manchin and Tim Scott. It's not going to work. So the Build Back Better plan, the George Floyd plan, getting rid of the 1776 commission, that he already got rid of that. And then the commission that just went through with reparations, the reparations commission that is in the House. These bills and these things that he's trying to get done die in the House. And so people look like, oh, you got the House and you got the Senate. The Senate is a monster. My mother's been in politics for years, and so I see now where he did, and I wasn't against the Afghanistan thing either. I wasn't against that pullout. I'm sorry, that's just me. But I might have an unpopular opinion. But I do think there are things that are on his agenda that it's going to be very hard to advance just because of the Senate. So 9 months in, I think we have to wait. He may get fed up and just executive order his life away, but we don't know.
Okay. So I'm gonna pass the mic to Chrissy real quick, but before that, I do want to just kind of say that hearing what you're saying now, right? For me, it harkens back to all the excuses we made for Barack Obama when he was in office, right? For a lot of his inaction. And then we talk about how things get blocked up in Congress and all of this and that. But I noticed that Donald Trump, who had a whole entire, he had the Senate, right? But he did not have the House.
When you got the Senate, you can do a lot.
Yeah, but it's right. But my thing is,
and weak Democrats.
Look at everything that Donald Trump was able to achieve with, let's say, just executive orders and his bully pulpit, right? But yet, every time a Democrat gets in office, all I ever hear is why they couldn't do nothing, and it was because of somebody. It was Republicans, right? But now that they have all three branches of government, guess what? It's not the Republican. Oh, well, there's this one Democrat over here that's holding up everything for us. There's always an excuse.
But Trump didn't get that much done, Tony. We can go back. I mean, didn't get that much done.
Yes, he did.
What?
No, he did. His executive orders, a lot of them got overturned. He had a tax bill. He didn't get he just. The way.
All right, you see how you said you're not totally. You don't regret your vote yet, right? And how about what's happening right now at the border in Texas, right? I heard you say it's not like
you can let me finish my stuff, but I don't want to take up everybody's time. But I was going to say I criticized Obama when I thought he did certain things, but I was pro Obama. I'm still pro Michelle Obama and things of that nature. But when I call somebody out, I can call somebody out, right?
Okay.
So I think where I don't want to say they got too much. They get how do you say when someone's in over their head? Like when it's
he's in over his head, right?
Yeah, okay. I think you should say that.
Yeah.
I think the border is like you trying to handle the pandemic. I think they dropped the ball with the border. And I think he tried to put it all on Kamala. He put her over the border back in January, March, and February. She ain't even been down there. So I think they dropped the ball with the border. And he was like, and everybody even said it. I think everybody said, if you look online, people were like, oh, he putting a black woman over the border so he can run from it. And I think the border stuff is where he's dropping the ball. If they don't come out tomorrow, end in Title 42 or Monday, is I mean, I can criticize somebody. I'm not against it, but I also like people to have rational thinking about things.
Well, right. Okay. Well, Chrissy, are you there? Because I know you're kind of popping in and out. I don't know if it's your camera because I was going to give her the floor, but
sure, I'm the minority here, but that's fine. I can handle it.
No, it's all right. Listen, I want to hear. We have to hear these perspectives. You know what I'm saying? It's necessary. It's necessary to hear these perspectives. For me,
if you didn't like them before, you've been waiting on anything anyway. If you think about it, you've been waiting because you wouldn't be 9 months in. Like we still got to apply that pressure. I email my senators. I tweet these people. You
do know that Joe Biden extended Title 42, right? Like he extended
only because it was a pandemic.
Only because, okay.
But right now, that's why.
But let me ask you. All right, do you think? Well, let me just. Do you think that we as Black people tend to make too many excuses for the Democratic Party when they don't ever deliver on any of their promises for us, and when they don't even bother making any type of commitment to us? Like, do you think that, I pose that question to anyone in the room.
50 years. We've been doing it for 50 years. Prior to 50 to 60 years before Lyndon B. Johnson, we were voting Republican. Our government is of a public form of government. It has nothing to do with democracy. So the Democrats come in and then they play like they are our friends because they put us on TV. They put us in positions. They allow us to entertain. And they can come to the cookout because they're cool. But at the same time, both parties are on code against us. So why are we always caping for either party? It doesn't matter. They're both against you. So like you were saying, Tony, as soon as they start campaigning or whatever, they get us all riled up. They get us all riled up on race. They get us all riled up on things with police. They get us all riled up, and they know what triggers us. So then everybody's, we hate Trump. We hate this. And I'm not caping for him, but at the same time, I'd rather be dealing with somebody who, if you don't like me, you don't like me. But if you put money in my pocket, that's a whole different topic. And until we decide that we want to start getting our economics together, as opposed to constantly giving our money to every other group of people, you're going to get nothing. Everything, police brutality, reform, as far as prison reform, all of that means nothing until you can have some leverage to do something. And then we're always giving our leverage away to the Democratic Party for the last 50, 60 years. We don't ask for nothing. We want decency in the White House. That's all we care about. And then, so now we got decency in the White House. And what's that paying for? Why are we out in the street? Why are we getting kicked out? What's that paying for?
I hear you, brother. Chrissy, there you go. Let me give you the floor because I know you are kind of in and out.
Yes. Sorry, I have little people I'm trying to put to bed.
Okay.
So I want to go back to and I want to say your name correctly, Dr. Selesia, yes. So I was going back to some of the things that you said as far as some of the things that you think that are expectations of, or what people are expecting Biden to do. I don't think people were really thinking about Biden uniting or bringing some sort of racial unity. Definitely didn't expect this level of racial division, to be brought. And as far as me, I'm very happy to say I did not vote for Biden. I voted for an independent candidate. At the time, I could not bring myself to vote for Trump, but now I surely miss some Trump. I could take some Trump right now. You know, I definitely could. I think being president is more than just who is an ass or who is not as much of an asshole to you, as it is a person who shows a level of leadership. When it comes to Afghanistan, I really believe Trump would have had enough sense to pull out civilians before pulling out the military. Not saying that he wouldn't have pulled out of Afghanistan, but it's the way you do it. The way he did it was a mess. And the way he did it is put those 13 military servicemen in jeopardy. You pull out the military, then you say, oh shoot, I forgot the civilians. Then you bring some back to go get civilians. Then there's a big hot mess at the airport. That was strategically unplanned, you know? And him, as he's supposed to be commander in chief, he didn't command very well in that situation. So it's not about doing it. It's about the way you did it. And he, plays dumb about not pulling out. He wants to focus on people criticizing him pulling out, but it's about the way in which it was done. And it wasn't done very intelligently. And it cost lives. It cost a lot of lives, actually. That's one. When it comes to the border, Biden invited the world, right? Or at least, he as soon as he got in office, he said, hey, come on in. You know what I mean? This is the place to be. So folks started coming.
Yep.
Hundreds of thousands of Latinos have come to this country over the past 8 months. They've gotten housing and all kinds of, goodies, etc. To do so. The people that were brought from Afghanistan, I think about 90,000.
Almost 100, yeah.
Almost 100,000, right? Now, that's not everyone who worked for the government and their families. There were not upwards of 90,000 people working for the government and their families. These are also people who wanted to just leave Afghanistan. They don't like the regime. This is their opportunity to get out. So
and they got Airbnbs too.
They got Airbnbs. They got red carpet, right? So Latinos and Afghans got red carpet, right? So he invited the world. Little did he know that there were going to be some black folk coming too. So that's where he got caught off guard. And now it's a hot mess because he doesn't want additional black people here. As he said, what did he say? The country is doomed because of black people. Everybody remember that? Remember that call? It's doomed. Do you not remember with all the so-called black leaders? Yeah, he said that the country is doomed, not only because of African Americans, but because, of the population is declining. He said all of that. I don't know exactly why people are surprised by Joe Biden. Joe Biden's always been a racist. Joe Biden was against desegregation. He talked about, he doesn't want his child going to a jungle gym or something of that sort, not quoting exactly, but something about jungle. I actually saw a clip earlier today where he said a lot of really vile stuff when he was younger about it wouldn't matter if Haiti sunk into the sea. He said that. That's a quote. I'll have to send that to you, Tony. That's from the Independent paper. They published that old video of him saying that. He told black people, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. He is the author, proud author, might I say, of the crime bill. He was a very close friend of a segregationist. This is a man who is very clearly, very comfortably anti-black. I do not fully understand what black people expected from him outside of him just being him. When it comes to Kamala, she has demonstrated who she was. She demonstrated that in California. And she's continuing to demonstrate who she is. I remember she said she can't do anything for black people, but she specifically was for doing things for the Asian community, specifically after about 200 or so attacks over a course of a year, even though they are one of the lowest populations that are the lowest attacked, as far as racial hatred goes in the country. I don't really understand why we're confused. I think that we really need to start paying more attention. We need to stop being so partisan. We need to stop being so impressed with symbolism and smiling faces. So if it was me right now, and I believe if Trump was in office, I don't think there would be a border crisis because no one would be coming. So no one would be in Chile uprooting themselves walking months on trying to get here, because I think the world was very clear on who Trump was. I think Afghanistan would be different. I don't think we'd be facing vaccine mandates. So I don't like Trump, but I do recognize that Biden is actually quite dangerous.
Okay.
So I'd like to follow up on, this situation with Biden. And it's very frustrating to hear a lot of Black folks speak on this issue. It is very frustrating to see it in the news. And because unfortunately, there are a lot of pundits who simply don't know what they're talking about when it comes to this. History is prologue and many times repeats itself. Sadly, many people do not know history accurately. This is nothing new. This has always been the case. And today, it's quite frankly, it's been that way since the 60s. It is called benign neglect.
That's right.
What happens is when you use code words such as people of color, minorities, poor people, these are code to tell you that nothing specifically will be done for Black people. It is very frustrating that we always seem to be behind the 8 ball and we don't understand this. There are very intelligent people that come on television and they try to obfuscate it away. They try to deflect. They try to talk about every single issue that is not germane to the actual points and to the topics. Unfortunately, so many of them don't understand. They will focus on voting. Voting is simply a tool that is used to get you, to help you with your community. Politics is socioeconomic Darwinism. It is survival of the fittest. You do not hear any other race, group, ethnic that are concerned with these issues of everyone else other than Black folks. Part of the problem is because we have been conditioned for so long to see things, to see the world through the eyes of whites. We constantly keep falling for the okie doke, where it's Republican versus Democrat, and this president, and that president. It is all the same. El-Haj Malik El-Shabazz explained it to us.
That's right.
You have the wolf and you have the fox. They are both of the dog family. One of them goes down and outright attacks the sheep. The other one is friendly with the sheep, but at the end of the day, guess who has the lamb chop on their plate? Black folks play this game with liberals, and let me tell you something about liberals. They require our tacit cooperation so as it pertains to how they feel that we should go about getting equity. And I say equity on purpose and not equality.
That's
Why?
right.
Because we don't understand that Black folks are are inferior to white folks. Not inherently, but financially and economically, we are inferior. That is a fact. So to think that someone is going to willingly give you something and hand it over in a capitalistic society is nonsensical. This is a competition. We can play this game. In 1964, when it was Goldwater versus Lyndon B. Johnson, the Democrats controlled all the House. We played this Dixiecrat game. We played this Republican game. It is all the same thing going forward, and it is frustrating to hear Black folks speak on it because, quite frankly, so many of them don't know what they're talking about. And we constantly play this catch-22 game. What Black folks should do in terms of voting, you need to do what is in your best interest. Voting is a quid pro quo. Something, it is very, very simple. I don't care about what the Jews are getting. I don't care about what the Koreans, what the Asians, what other groups are getting. We are so scared to say something like that. But guess what? They are not concerned with your Black ass either. And lastly, pertaining to the immigration issue, they want a very specific type of immigrant in this country. It's simple math. If you look at during 1790, the late 1700s, in the Immigration Act, there was a zero quota on Black immigration to this country. When the white numbers dwindled, they turned to accept other groups who are not traditionally considered whites and ingratiate them into this country. Back then, it was the Irish, it was the Italians, Sicilians, it was the Jews. Now, when they offset those numbers because they realized with the revolt in Haiti and the slaves in the South were outnumbering the whites, they had to do something. Now today, simply look at the census. It's very simple in front of you. If Black people and non-Black Hispanics and other groups essentially had identical fertility rates since the early 1900s, and Black folks were outnumbering everyone else other than whites and by millions, and if they had the exact identical same fertility rates, and now they're outnumbering us by millions, well, then what does that tell you? That means they were coming in across the border and they were not letting in Black people at the same rate. It's very, very simple. But we seem to, for whatever reason, not understand it. It's what it is, and the evidence is right there in front of your face. Simply support a candidate or a person who does for you and your people, and punish those, whether they be Black or white, who purport to represent the interests of Black people. And they are not Uncle Toms, they are called Sambos. And it is a difference. Stop supporting Sambos.
Lord, brother, yes. I'm sorry, I gotta applaud that. But listen, so, okay. So, oh man.
Let me jump in here. That was a lot of, he dropped a bunch of different facts. It was bars after bars. But I think he also made like a lot of different points. That's right. Within like, almost like we need a little history lesson over here. Right. My thing is this. We have too much division amongst Black people. There so we go. As soon as somebody think different from you, you got to come in and put them in their place. My only concern is when we're out there saying, I wish Trump was here. It just don't make sense sometimes when I hear that, because when we look at the facts, Trump is the one that, let's go back to Afghanistan. Trump is the one that his administration brokered the deal with the Taliban. You know what I'm saying? Trump started the withdrawal during that, years ago. You don't know what Trump would have done, but you can know that the reason the Taliban, and then there's so many different components. The reason the Taliban is even able to take over is because of Trump and his Secretary of State. But I digress. I don't want to get into Afghanistan and Trump because we need to talk about the refugees. But we're not when I see that sometimes like online, and I'm not saying it for Chrissy saying it, but I see it online. It just makes me think like we shouldn't even be saying that. If you stay on Biden, people stay on Trump and what he did. It's you know what I'm saying? Like, why can't we just get on cold and say just none of them are for us?
I would say this, but if I choose the devil, that's the devil I'm going to choose. I'm not choosing this current one who wants to practically make me lose my job if I don't put an experimental serum in my body. That one I don't want. Who is going to actually have his federal agents abusing and humiliating Haitian refugees who are trying to come in the country after he's let everything white, bright, and light get in. I don't want that one. And then the one who actually made the United States look like a buffoon with this debacle of a withdrawal, I don't that one I don't want. I don't want this one who has allowed Dr. Fauci to become kind of Lord and Savior, who is one day it's put on the mask, 2 masks today, take the mask, you need a boost. No, it's too much. So if I got to choose the devil, that devil right there is going to tell me what he's going to do before he gets. I don't want any of them. I'll just take my. I know, but that's what we have. We have a choice, right? We got Dr. Fauci, devil or Democrat. So right now, the Republican devil works for me.
But that's the thing.
I don't want any of them.
But okay, so if you don't want any of them, then you need to.
No. I'm saying right now, what I'm saying, I don't want devils. That doesn't make sense. But what I'm saying is, let's just see how this plays out. The midterms are coming. Oh.
You have 60 years of history to show us how it plays out.
You're not in, I don't know why people are laughing. You're not in Congress, so we can't, we're going to impeach him? We still have to have a plan my point is this: we still have to have a plan as Black people on code
Yes.
on how we're going to move forward. So
They were
either-
saying that before the election, and that's
either-
what they're saying
either way,
before the election.
terms are up.
The
I think
people who said that we need a plan, one part of that plan was we have to leverage our vote. We have to get something in return for our vote. And the
we
people
blew that.
who said,
We got to move forward. We blew it.
But we keep doing
I
that.
don't want, but you know that I don't want to take ownership for that. I don't want to take ownership for we blew that, because there was a large number of Black people that were out there saying we need something in return for our votes, and they had every establishment media blackface up there telling you that you were stupid for doing it. I saw some of our quote unquote prominent Black civil rights activists out there shaming Black people for saying that we want something in return for our votes. What other group?
That's what I'm saying. We're not
other
on
group
code
in this country
Here's
votes
what
for anything other than the interest of their community and themselves.
Tony, you're supposed to vote your interest. I vote my interest, right? So what I'm saying is this: you still gotta. Here's my point: you gotta play the game,
right?
No,
but that was playing the game. Hold up, wait. Listen, you said we got to play the game, right?
But, let's talk about what we do now going forward. You got to keep the pressure.
But that's the problem.
That a year ago.
That's the problem. We're out of time. And this is what people are missing. We're out of time. Every conversation we have on this, we always say, well, let's see how it plays out. We said that last time. We said that before.
You're not listening. What I'm saying is we don't get on code. You know this. So what I'm saying is, what do we do this point forward? There are very key things we can do. Midterm elections. If you don't have what you need, everybody's going to sit out, and Biden and them are going to look stupid. He already said he's one and done. So then what do we do for the next?
See, but this is the problem.
I think
we need a plan. Right? It's all talking, just keyboard bullies.
But let me say this, and then I'll just give the floor to anyone. Right? Let me just say this, okay? Because I know you're saying, well, what are we going to do right now? But we cannot act like we have not visited this exact same conversation many times. And there's no expectation, not from me, that we're going to do something else and then we're not going to come back to this conversation because
I think things are different, Tony.
Let me say this. We always say things are different. Listen,
no, from last year and the uprising and the different voices, you got people.
Black people had the perfect opportunity with Donald Trump to leverage their votes. You got a Christmas present, Hanukkah present, whatever you want to call it, with Donald Trump being in office. That was the moment that you utilize your vote for whatever leverage you think you can get from it. But not only did we not leverage our vote, but our own people publicly castigated people like Ice Cube and people who went out there and vociferously spoke in our favor to get something in return for our votes. So for us to be now here in the end game, let's use a Avengers reference. We're in the end game now.
You think we're in the end game? That's negative thing. Yes, absolutely.
But it's reality.
Thinking for them.
As we said, this is not even. The evidence is there. It's in your face. The history is there, and I don't know if everyone knows the history. We're talking about, okay, well, what do we do right now? Much of the problem is because you have a lot of these old ass Negroes that are in office. And those are the ones who would purport to represent the interests of Black folks. Every other group is ethno-aggregate.
Yeah.
Hear that?
You see, we can disagree amongst each
still
other.
going back to elections. It's still about elections.
No,
We
it's
can
not.
disagree amongst each other, but guess what? We have to do it together. Let me give you an example. If you hear one Jew publicly say that anti-Semite, the other Jews won't even know what the hell is going on. They'll be like, anti-Semite. What's going on? You see, the problem is we are not together. So if when you go down, and again, I hate focusing on voting because it's such a very, very small part.
It's a big part, but it's
however, if you can go, if Asian people can go and get things like that, if they can get things for them, if they are giving these Afghan migrants, refugees, whatever you want to call them, billions of dollars. They have Fortune 500 companies that are giving them free college tuitions, that are giving them these things. So when you talk about what do we need to do, personally, I am out there within the next mayoral candidate, who's running for mayor of New York. I am out there. A lot of people in Harlem do not like me because I don't play these games. I'm going to tell you what it is. What else can you do to me? I don't care if you're Trump. I don't care if you're Republican. I want something for me and my people. I don't care about Democrats. I don't care about liberal. I don't care. We have to punish these people when they don't give us something. And everyone else understands this.
Right. But and you're acting as if I don't understand. What I'm saying is to Tony's point, get rid of the old gatekeepers. That's why I said with elections, you got a lot of young new voices coming up. You have a lot of young new voices coming up. These people,
and they're being blocked.
I think there's a lot of black leaders. I think they're everywhere.
Dr. Felicia, can I ask you a quick question about what you're saying? With the how many, if we look at the demographics as far as who voted, how many people voted in the demographics, what's the percentage of Asians do you think voted?
That was my point. Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, they're a small number. They're like 6-7%.
So how
they're getting stuff?
They're getting stuff.
They got legislation. They
have no numbers to flip, sway, do anything with a vote.
Guys, they got an executive order. That's
our point.
That's legislation.
They got money.
Executive order.
They got money.
Yes.
They got money.
$50 million.
Hashtag, and they got an anti-crime bill.
They have no numbers to vote, to sway, to get anything as far as their votes. They know that they have leverage. Economic leverage.
That's it, and that's it.
Economic leverage. Yes.
So how is group economics not the solution for the black community?
Correct. When we
Farrakhan talks about it all the time.
So why don't we do it?
Right. Why do we think that voting is the only way?
You know what? I think we got a lot of opinions. That's fine. You could have differing degrees, but we don't ever stay on code. We don't come together on code.
I agree with that.
You're going to figure out what the code is as well.
That is not saying this is what we're saying.
Determine what the code is.
But don't we think that a part of staying on code, right? Let's just use this little conversation.
I like that term, Tom.
Right. Yeah. And I like it too. But let's just use this as an example, right? Let's say half the people in this conversation, your belief was no matter what, I am going to vote for the Democratic Party, right? Now, if you know that the Democratic Party has a habit of never delivering anything for you, but you feel that they may be the best option right now, wouldn't being on code be when Ice Cube or anyone else goes out there and says, we're not giving you our votes until you give us something in return this time? Wouldn't being on code mean?
We supported us.
Let me finish.
We supported him.
Wouldn't being who support?
Not in large numbers.
Come on now.
Tony, you know what I'm talking about. Maybe Selena, the show.
Yeah. Right. But we're talking about a community issue here, right?
Right.
Being on code. Even if you were going to give them your votes, why do you have to pledge your loyalty before an election that I'm going to give you my vote anyway? What is the point of leverage? Why are you telling them that they have your vote?
Doesn't make sense, right? I understand what you're saying.
So then why chastise those who go out from your community and say, no, we're not doing it again this time. You're gonna have to do this for us this time. So that's a big part of being off code, right? So at some point we're gonna have to identify the people who are responsible for this off codeness, because it's the black people.
Social media.
It is the black. Hold on. It's the black people who always speak in terms of accountability. Those are the people who are always castigated as the ones who are off code, and we can't just fall in line. See, off code does not mean falling in line with liberal policies. Off code, being on code is you support your people in their best interest. So those who speak towards the best interest of your people, back them up, even whether you believe what they're saying or not.
On code is supporting the black agenda. But what I'm saying is we just didn't have enough, like, you know, we supported Ice Cube when he came out. The problem is social media. The problem is social media. Because just like you said earlier, Tony, why is any black person going against the Haitians and having them come here?
Ooh,
you said you saw some, and I'm like,
yeah,
well, I can say, yeah, okay, this, I'm support whatever, Democrat, liberal. But when I saw that, and I'm like, no, we all should be on code with with black issues.
But I don't know if we should blame social media.
So what was the problem 100 years before that?
The situation is the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. That's that we continue to do time and time again. We talk about staying on code, but no one has ever identified what code is, because to each one of us, voting our interest is something different. We remain trapped in this divide and conquer, where when the people go to one side and say something, then we decide to vote our interest here, but we're not looking at the collective interest of all of us as black people. So we all have to come together and decide exactly what code is for everyone. Because if we're talking about each sect, Haitians, Trini, Jamaicans, all of us have a different experience as a result of where we were brought originally, and we identify with that experience. So you have people who are from different countries that don't necessarily identify
the same interests,
African American experience, nor are they subject to some of the mental slavery that there is here. So you have people who come from other countries and they have an agenda which is to improve their situation for their family, and they're not interested in a collective code. They're looking at survival for themselves.
Right.
So, now that's money. I think economics is the code.
I would agree with
what
that.
I'm saying is that you have two different sets of people. You have people who have one experience versus another. I am a part of both. I'm a part of African American and I'm a part of Haitians.
Wow.
Now, my family, when they came here saying, listen, America is the land of opportunity. When we get there, we're going to do this, and this. Without realizing and taking into account the mental slavery nor the history that has placed African Americans in the position that they're in right now. So they look at African Americans and they don't understand exactly what's going on and say, well, African Americans are not taking advantage of all of the opportunity here, so we're going to just bypass them, because they don't understand exactly the history that has placed these mighty people under subjection. So as long as we don't have a discussion in terms of exactly what has taken place and all of our history and how we all need to come together for the collective benefit of all of us, African American, whether you're Haitian, whether you're Jamaican, whether you're from whatever country, once you get here, you are African American. It doesn't matter exactly where you came from and everything else. If you don't participate in the American experience, you are only shooting us in the foot collectively. So while you are raising yourself up in terms of your survival, you are also doing that at the detriment to the people who have already been here and need to be pulled up and need to be assisted in terms of us all coming together in unity.
So let me ask you, go ahead, Kai, because I just want to pose a question.
Brother, I agree with most of what you said, but it may sound like a nuance, and you may disagree with this when you hear it, but you have to understand that white folks play these games. And what I'm about to say is, I don't use the term or identify with African American or person of color, and I'm going to explain to you why. Not because, I'm against something against us. No, because I'm aware of the games that they play. So what you'll do is you'll have situations where You'll have people that are, for example, Pakistani, in the sense who may have grown up in South Africa, and they are applying for certain benefits and scholarships. And if you have people, Arabic people, not the original ancient people of ancient Kemet, but the Arabic people of Egypt and these areas who are in fact in Africa. So when we say the African American experience, and then when we say, listen, we need something or reparations for African Americans, they say, hey,
I'm an African American.
Technically, they are African American. So I understand it's a nuance. I'm not saying it to cause problems against us. I'm saying it because I know how these white folks work. So I would say, and I identify with saying, I am a Black person in America. So that way, they can't play these games with us like they always do when we talk about what do we want for ourselves. And I agree with you wholeheartedly about the experience of Blacks in America and amongst ourselves. We have to stop that because Farrakhan parents are not from America. El Haj's mother is from Grenada.
Right.
Stokely Carmichael is Trinity. But guess what? All of them identify with being Black men in America, dealing with the issues of Black people in America. I would encourage everyone to start studying Dr. Claude Anderson because it's very, very different than that nonsense that a lot of other folks is talking about. And I mentioned earlier about becoming ethno-aggregate, and he has a lecture called Inappropriate Behavior that I encourage everyone to look at. And we talk about, well, what is the quote? And you said it, sister, it is money. Because if you look at those gangsters as a movie, I think something about gangsters with Christian Slater, where you got the Jews and the Italians and the Germans and everybody warring against each other. But guess what? They say, hold up. What are we fighting amongst each other when we can all get this money and the niggas and the sticks are out there?
Yeah.
Got all money. So when we start saying, hey, Black first, money in because we don't have communities, we have neighborhoods, but we start developing something called community. And keeping that money amongst us. Remember, our dollar lasts about 6 hours in our community. 6 hours. The next closest one is about 7 days. Just think about that.
And I agree too. That's why I say economics and money is the central thing, because I think social cultural issues will be all over. You know what I'm saying? Like we'll have different mindsets as it relates to healthcare, things like, some social cultural issues.
But would you guys say that the social issues are what bar us from being able to build economically? Because one thing, like,
no, I don't think so.
No. When I say social issues, I'm talking about these implanted issues. I'm talking about the things the mindset that keeps us fragmented as a Black community is what I'm talking about. And when and you don't think so? I'm talking about not
pro-choice, pro-life.
No, specifically speaking, I'm talking about the relationship between Black people that like, let's say what is it, ADOS of FBA, and Black people that immigrate that migrate here from other countries. Because to be honest with you, ADOS, because I personally have been seeing a lot of disturbing things, being said from a lot of influential Black people to the effect of they don't really give a damn what's going on with the Haitians because they hate, Black Americans and stuff like that.
That's what I'm gonna say. Why are you doing that?
Modern day meritorious manumission. And if you don't know what meritorious manumission was, that during slavery, where a Black person was rewarded for selling out another Black person. They were rewarded for keeping us down. So meritorious manumission hasn't gone anywhere. This modern day.
Yeah, but honestly, I'm seeing this. I'm honestly seeing this from people who are not. I'm being honest. I'm seeing this from Black people in influence who are not who are not really beholden to, let's say, this white supremacist system or white liberals and things of that nature. I'm talking about prominent people who have large followings in the Black community. And for me, that's really disappointing, because you see that a lot of people follow this rhetoric. And unfortunately, we're in a society of followers.
Yeah.
So, you know, people turn into this rabid bunch of people that I'm just telling you, it was really disturbing to me to see it, but it's there. And I think that's what continues to keep us fragmented when we try to get on code. We're always talking about getting on code, but this division is always showed, and we don't see the puppet hand that's above us that's pulling the strings. So how do we?
Well, yeah,
how do we do something about that?
That makes me sad. I've even seen people online saying, how did all those Haitians get over there? How did they get from Haiti to Texas? Did they travel? I think they were planted, and that's why we shouldn't care. Like, I've seen that kind of stuff. Is that just
I'm seeing stuff saying, I'm seeing hold your own nuts.
Yeah,
hold
your own nuts
situation. Listen,
but
y'all gotta deal with that.
The thing is that, you know, the hold your own, I don't know if they don't understand. This is not really as much about being Haitian as it is about being Black. And if they will do it to them, they will do it to you, as they've done it during Katrina. Because you remember I will never forget, during Katrina, Black people, FBA, ADOS, who've been here for 400 years, were identified as refugees. And then I will never, ever forget that in my life. And then the media had to reach out. Oh, you know, they'll plant a seed and say something. Oh, we're sorry, we didn't mean refugees. So just the way you mock or you laugh and you think, oh, well, they don't like us. These people don't know you. These people are coming from circumstances you will never understand. And this whole obsession, and I'm saying this, I'm going to tell you my background. I'm Jamaican background, okay? And I've been seeing it much more lately. You know, this idea that Black immigrants don't like Black Americans. And I'm not saying there aren't some Black immigrants that talk outside of their mouth, and they need to be checked. And they have been being checked, which is proper. When I see people do it, I check them. But one thing, I think accountability has to be on both sides. And that is the part that I'm not seeing. Okay? Because in reality, yes, there are issues in this country. There's racism in this country. There's a legacy of racism and all of that. At the end of the day, when Black immigrants come here, or when we're over there, when we see Black Americans here, we see the richest Black people on the planet. I don't know if folks are comfortable telling their backgrounds. Anybody who would be classified as FBA or ADOS here? I hope I'm not talking to us a bunch of like a Caribbean folks or something.
No, but I will be in Jamaica next week.
Oh, okay. Yes. So
I'm not Jamaican. I'm just saying I'm going there.
Born in this country, but my family's from Jamaica.
The richest. I'm talking about, you have ancestry 300-400 years in this country. They see the richest.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
What do I mean?
Yeah.
When I say what?
The richest.
When black people abroad, okay, when they look at African Americans, as you'd classify, African American Black people who've been here for 300-400 years have more wealth than us back home. So when they look at Black Americans, they're looking at the richest Black people on the planet.
Like rock stars.
African Americans, right? They're about 35 million are strict African American, right? Are the richest Black people collectively, are the richest Black people on the planet.
True.
As a collection.
But what does that mean essentially?
The point that I will get. The point I was saying is that they see the richest Black people on the planet in the richest country on the planet with the most opportunity on the planet. You understand what I'm saying? So the idea is, a lot of Black immigrants, when they look at Black Americans, they don't see, even though they know there's racism, they don't see an oppressed people. They're like, you in America, you know, there's opportunity, there's this, there's that. There's not a, you're me. I was, you know what I'm saying? 8th grade education. And I'm talking about my own family in the country, going to an outhouse. There's no unemployment. There's no social security. If you lose your job, you got to figure it out. There are no social nets. There's nothing to hold you. If you cannot hold yourself, you fall. If your parents die, you're an orphan. You're on the street begging. You're selling this to go to school. You got to pay for school. If you don't pay for school, that you can't go. It's a completely different society. They see Black people who are privileged, who have opportunity. So they don't see Black Americans as on their level. As far as, and I'm not saying their level is below, they see their level above, they see their level as below economically. They see it's like, you're the rich people, you're the people with the money. You know what I'm saying?
See, you're saying it's a competition thing?
No.
Competition. What I'm saying is that Black immigrants do not see African Americans collectively, even though they know there are instances of racism, as an oppressed people.
I have to disagree with that.
Listen, I think people are not.
They know
there's a misunderstanding.
What happens is they come
There's a misunderstanding of communication.
and what's going on, and they start to think, well, look, you know, I'm able to run, and I'm able to run.
Oh, you're frozen.
You froze, Chaka.
I thought it was me.
No, I think there's a misunderstanding. I think people are misunderstanding what Chrissy's saying. What she's saying is that when you're dealing with people who come from, let's say, poor Caribbean countries or parts of the world where it is extreme poverty, where people have to kill their own food, people are walking without shoes, and they got to figure all of this shit. You got to figure it out. And when you compare it to the United States, which is projected as which is number one, the richest country in the history of the world, and where everybody got an iPhone, everybody's doing this. So when they see America, they see Black people in America as actual rock stars, and people don't. And I think that's one of the weapons that the media uses, because a lot of people, like a lot of Black Americans and I've grown up. I'm Black American. I was born in this country. I was raised in this country, but I still my family's from Jamaica, but I see the difference in the way everybody sees each other. I see Black Americans looking at Caribbean people and they think they better than us. That's the typical idea. And then you see people from the Caribbean and other places, a lot of them, when they come to this country, quite often they don't even really get an ample opportunity to even get to know Black Americans, because one thing that people don't see is there's a lot of media nonsense that they're subjected to. And when people from Black people from other countries come here, the first place that they enter when they come here is where? It's the hood. So it kind of reinforces all of the nonsense that is kind of engineered into people. And then when you talk about people, like especially in a lot of parts of Africa where they're really, I'm not going to try to like type.
There's a lot of poverty. You know what I'm saying?
But there's a lot of poverty.
I can tell you from my own experience, bathing in a bucket, the hot water, you got to boil the water. It's a different. So they idolize Black Americans. I'm even thinking about what Shaka was saying is like, far as like, you know, Black immigrants coming here and then kind of bypassing and not understanding the struggle. Yes, you should definitely understand. I think anybody who comes to America should understand the Black contribution to this country. That should be part of your. Even if you're getting your citizenship, that should be some of the questions. But I think that the understanding, and as you were talking about the divisiveness that we're seeing online, I feel like it's very one-sided. It's, you don't see the world from my perspective, so you're a coon, you're a tether, and you can hold your own nuts and all the other kind of stuff. Because as I said, from the immigrant perspective, Black Americans are and this is a fact, 1.1 trillion consumer spending. It's unfortunately is spent instead of invested and so forth. Black people in America have more wealth than Black people in Jamaica, in Haiti as a collective. I'm not saying there aren't outliers. In most of Nigeria, yes, you do have your Nigerian billionaire and oil tycoon here and there, but as a collective, the standard of living here is higher. As a collective, there are safety nets. If you hungry and you don't got no food, you can go to the food bank. You don't gotta be home and not eat. So they look at people who are in a position of opportunity that they are not in. You know what I'm saying? So when folks come here, it's like, man, I gotta work, I gotta hustle, because I am not only working for me, I'm sending money back home so my niece can go to school, and she will not be going to school if I don't send that money back home. So it's not a sense of it's not a competition,
Or
but I
I'm
will
better
also
than you
say
or
that
anything like
being
that.
in that position, even though yes, there are problems, it still garners just how we have, you know, on the immigrant side have a responsibility to learn about Black Americans. I believe Black Americans have a responsibility to take whatever the opportunity that they have here to build. You know what I'm saying? Because in reality, the rest of the Black world looks and see what Black America is doing.
Well,
What are you doing? They follow. You know what I'm saying? So
I just want to say
let's
something to that.
take what you
Go
got
ahead.
and make it work as well.
I just want to say something to that. I'm not disagreeing, because that is a perspective, and I don't think that we should say that that's not a perspective to say that it doesn't exist. What I am going to say is, on the other side is it's not just when it comes to people who have the same skin color as us. You have many different immigrants that come over and basically get honorary white status.
Of course.
So when you come over here, so you already have the struggles that we have going on over here. So then when you have someone who may be immigrating from Jamaica, maybe immigrating from Cuba, maybe immigrating from Haiti, from different African nations, is that they do come over with certain things, or then you have their collective areas that they're in, and they get preached to, the children get preached to, oh, you don't want to interact with them. You don't want to be around them, which I'm talking about us who've been around here. And it's that sense of, you know, they already know what our class is, because that's what Black and white is. It's not an identity. It's a class system by law. You can look in any law book, and it tells you that white is a status, Black is a status. So that's where we get beat, because we don't know what the actual laws are. And we get beat by law all the time. So if I'm constantly labeling myself as such, you're going to get what you are labeling yourself. So
you can label yourself as a white person?
Technically, yes. If you look at the definition.
We did that for
when that police officer pull you over.
I'm not talking about what traditionally happens.
He's not gonna say, are you Jamaican or Haitian or this? He's gonna be like, Black.
I'm not talking about what traditionally happens. I'm talking about what the actual laws are. If you look in Black's Law Dictionary, it will tell you what a free white person is, and it will tell you what Black means. Black is an adjective. It's not a noun. You're a noun. You're not. The adjective can never be a noun.
I think what.
Well, one of the things I always like.
Wait, hold on for a second, Brother Chaka. Kaya was getting ready to say something, because I know
what Chrissy was speaking to. I'm not going to say that you're wrong, but I think it also lacks a lot of context, where Black people, and just for me, I was born in Brooklyn. My family is from the Caribbean and from Africa, and some are from the South. My great grandfather went to the first Freeman School in South Carolina. My people from Ghana, they're from Jamaica, they're from many different areas. I think what you said lacks a lot of context. Yes, Black people in America have this tremendous spending power, but it is essentially worthless, because it is spread out amongst the people because of integration and because of diversity. So it is essentially worthless. I also think that we have to take into consideration, and I don't really want to get into this, well, I'm worse than you, well, this is worse than you, but I must say this. We have to understand that when your culture and your identity is stripped from you of who you are, and you're forced to create such a mishmash of created culture and a little bit of African and a little bit of Caribbean, you are lost as a people. And the one advantage that when immigrants come here, they can monetize their culture.
That's what I was
doing. Some of the biggest problems that Black folks in America face is because you have a lack of identity. So I'm not saying that you're wrong, because a lot of what you said is true, but to give it some context. So when we're talking about, oh, you have all these opportunities and these, we're talking about this Stockholm syndrome, where so many people still to this day see the world through what is white. There is no identity of who we are. So when people come in, the first thing that they usually do with other races is they settle with their like groups. and they monetize their culture. As stinky and funky as Chinatown is, guess what? It's theirs. It belongs to them. There is a community. There is a culture there. So when Black folks are here and other people come here, well, they're essentially, to give reference to like a football game. Well, y'all came here in the fourth quarter. We've been fighting 3 quarters, 4 quarters. And there are a lot of things that you don't know what took place. Matter of fact, I always will check Black Americans, I'll check Africans, I'll check West Indians, I'll check Caribbean people. There was Black Americans who fought for
them to be able to come over here.
To get here. And that is a fact. But we also have to understand that, listen, we would like to, or white folks would like to give this impression that this country is a meritocracy. That if you just work hard, then you have the American dream. Bullshit. Right. We need to stop that. With integration, there are these glass ceilings that have set us back.
Right.
Things that we had. We had a community. We had concentrated wealth amongst ourselves. But at the end of the day, Black folks in America own less than 2% of wealth in America as a collective group. There is nothing that you can do for yourself as a people with less than 2%. It just doesn't work when you are essentially 16% of the population. It's very simple math. It doesn't work. You can't do much of anything. So once we understand that and a lot of the problems, what we are facing, and then we can tackle them together instead of fighting against, well, you come from here and I'm from here and I don't like you. Look, generally speaking, white folks don't like none of your asses, okay? They don't like me. So we got to get over that nonsense.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what you're saying. And to be honest with you, I don't think anybody disagreed with what we're speaking about here. I don't think anyone actually disagreed. All we're doing is just adding additional context to this conversation. And and as a Black American, a Black person born in this country with a family from the Caribbean, I understand how outside forces often influence our perception of each other as Black people of the diaspora. I know that, so even when Christy says that, Black people coming from the Caribbean and other places, they see they see Americans, like Black Americans, they see Black Americans as rock stars.
Yes, rich. Like y'all got the money, y'all wear the opportunity. Everybody, folks are drowning in boats trying to get here X, Y, and Z.
And
so
that's a reality.
I'm not saying, yes, which is true. Right. I'm not saying that there isn't issues, but I think what needs to take place now, yes, there are, they'll roll out the red carpet for the Afghan, for the white Cuban, and X, Y, and Z. Black people aren't going to get that rollout. Okay, so we're not going to get that rollout. So what can we do now with the resources that we have to make things a bit better for our situation? I'm sorry.
What's interesting too, Tony, like when we went to South Africa last year, right before the pandemic, we were in Durban and we were with the government officials. We met with the mayor, and they over there in South Africa, they tell us, y'all need to come home. They tell us we need to buy property over there. They're like, what y'all doing over there? They don't know how to treat you. Like every time we go to I've been going to South Africa since 2005. And they're always saying, why don't y'all come home? So me and Selena even thought about it, like, man, we could get property over here. They said that we should come home because that's a place you could go. Now, this is a sprinkle of white folks, but you're going to see Black faces everywhere. And I agree with what Christy said, because when we went to Soweto,
they love you.
They're walking around with baskets on their head and it's whales that walk. And I'm like, and they're just like, come over here.
They see you as rich. Exactly. So I'm saying that to say, I'm not saying that there are not, because I'm thinking about the whole, they don't like me and all that kind of stuff. And this whole like me thing, to me, is just so damn silly. Because I feel like if your self-confidence is solid, you don't give it. You know who are not like Haitians, as we can see. Haitian people have been through hell with just about every damn body. And they are the most confident, self-assured group of Black people you will ever find, because they know who they are. They don't give a damn who like them and don't like. Even Caribbean people have given them hell. If you like them, cool, they bangs with you. If you don't like them, they do their own thing in the corner. They're not obsessed with this whole you don't like me, so bop bop bop. And as far as I'm concerned, talking about the Black folk who are saying hold your own nuts, if you can see, regardless of any disagreement, if you can see Black people being treated like that, and you say hold your own nuts, you don't love Black people. You are an egotistical child, as far as I'm concerned. You don't love Black people. If you can see, because to me, at the end of the day, when it comes to, even if I don't like you, but if I see you being harmed, that all that goes to the side. That's what being on code is.
Not only that, we are, and and I say I'm Haitian, but regardless as to what, we are Black people. So it's like, if you look at Haiti and don't see Black people, then there's a problem. There's a real big problem. This is exactly the point that I was making, is that we have to come out of that. We have to come together and recognize that, look, I am you and you am I. So it's like, we can't sit and watch these issues in isolations or in silos. These are the very people that can come to increase your numbers and assist with the struggles here. Right. So we have to look. I believe several things. I believe the first thing that we have to do is we have to identify exactly what is going to be the umbrella term.
B1, Black first. Boys got that right.
So if it's Black, well, then let's go with that. But we now have to use that umbrella to now get everybody underneath it. So if you are coming from another country, you unite underneath the Black umbrella, and the Black Americans here. One of the things that I think needs to happen is there has been significant unidentified trauma that continues to play out in every single situation, in terms of our finances, in terms of our unity, in terms of every single aspect in our being.
If we
don't go and counteract and seek treatment for that, we will continue to replicate all of these different deficiencies and pathology and not understand why we keep doing it. So we have to do those things. Once we do that, then we have to come up with a code that you were talking about, where we all unify underneath and start to work underneath that code so that we can start to move towards the unity that we need. But that only happens with unity. So we have to unite these splinter groups by fighting and making sure that we are all together and we start to see each other as we are. You am I, and I am you. And it doesn't matter. Language and everything else, it's good for us to unite in terms of our culture, but we have to look under the huge umbrella of
Blackness
underneath those terms.
Right. And just real quick, another thing that we have to also consider, when you were talking about the trauma, we have to remember that Black Americans have had an entire system overtly oppressing them, overtly disenfranchising them, steadily, regularly. So
globally,
right. We know globally, but we have to be real about it. In the United States, that is where Black Americans in this country, they receive the most overt forms of systemic oppression. Well, I would say, I'm going to say overt. I'm saying overt, in your face. You get what I'm saying when I'm talking about the blatant racism and things of that nature. So it's traumatizing because Black Americans have been through hell, and they're still going through hell.
It's a lot. I'm shocked I just dropped the mic.
So for me, as a person who is of Caribbean descent but still born and raised in this country, it's like I kind of stand in the middle. I've had to check my own family, my own Caribbean family, from time to time as a young Black man growing up in these streets, because the police, they don't see a Jamaican or they don't see a Nigerian. They see a nigga. That's what they see. You know what I'm saying? And I gotta be honest, as time has gone on, I've noticed that a lot of older Caribbean people that have been in this country for a long period of time, they have come to understand.
Okay.
They have come to understand way more the plight of African Americans in this country. And I hate that term African American too. So, but that's just for, you know, semantics purposes. So I don't want people to feel hopeless. I just don't like this like we're in this little era right now where, you know, Caribbean people, like, listen, I support like the ADOS, the foundational black, all of that stuff. I support it. Black people in this country are entitled to reparations. That's just something that has to happen. You know, I don't know any Caribbean people that will say, no, they shouldn't get it. I don't know that. I know there are people that'll say it ain't gonna happen, but that's a different conversation. But I wish people would understand how people on both sides, and I hate the fact that there's both sides, that we actually do support and admire each other. I know so many Caribbean people, listen, they model a lot of things that they do based on American culture. You know, black people in America. Like, we all...
You think it's that? You think... I mean, you know, I was in New York 13 years, and as a professor, I taught a lot of students, Jamaicans, Haitians. You think there's a divide? You're saying it's deep like that with black?
Well, you're starting to see it more and more. I don't know if you want to say the names of folks. Do you want to say the names?
Listen, bro, Tariq Nasheed, he's
he's the leader right now of
I've always liked Tariq. I've always liked him.
I used to. I don't really. I'm so turned off.
I've always liked him, but I'm being honest with you. A lot of the stuff he's pushing now is very divisive.
I think that what happens is you have to listen to the voice of, for instance, if you have a lot of us over here who are talking about Pan-Africanism, right? Mm-hmm. Talking about connecting to where we are throughout the globe. But what they're saying is that over time, what we have seen on a regular is that it'll be us doing the fight for the Pan-Africanism. But then when people are coming over here, and I'm not just saying the people that looks like us, you have a lot of immigration that comes over and just does not
replaces you.
Yes. They are now the buffer class. They do not toe the line. And then, so that's what you're hearing. You're hearing the results and the effects of that. I'm not saying that you know, we shouldn't be thinking that way, thinking the way of coming together like, yes, you're my brother, you're my sister, and we all have the same fight. But what tends to happen is you get over here and then it's like, okay, well, screw you guys, because like you said, I'm focused on getting ahead myself or my family myself. So therefore the umbrella of what should happen, screw all that, because I may be coming from a lower situation and I'm getting up, so I'm passing you. You understand what I'm saying?
I would say, as far as like Black immigrants, I mean, yeah, you got some talking heads. You got some like the Joyanne Reed, she's from somewhere or something like that. But generally,
there's overrepresentation of the negative.
It's horrible.
Yeah, I just think there's overrepresentation of the negative.
It made my skin crawl. Like, girl, you ain't nobody.
I just think that there's the venting of that, but we can't not say that doesn't happen and that to put that aside. I think it just needs to be addressed.
But we can acknowledge it happens without making that the main point all the time. The division, and
Caribbean people are not no buffer class. I don't see Caribbean people are buffer class.
Say it again,
now, Caribbean people are not nobody's buffer class. Okay. Now, buffer class to me is the Chinaman moving, sleeping. He got the store. The Arab got the what you call it, the gas station. The Indian, he got the 7-Eleven, X, Y, and Z. Now they come in, they collect the money, and then they leave. That's a buffer class, right? And that they're still kind of a managing order because they are economically empowered, and they're between you and whites. But Caribbean people, African people coming here, there's no buffer class. What as the point that I was making, and as I said, you know, the whole thing about this whole division X, Y, and Z. Just from both points, you talked about a lot of times I feel in America we talk about from the African American perspective how things are viewed, right? I don't think we talk about what a Caribbean person is saying. And I really, honestly, talking to my mom, it took me a while to fully get where my mother was coming from. You know what I'm saying? Because my mother is old school Caribbean. She'll be like, oh, you know, she'll say stuff like, you know, she don't feel like African Americans are putting in the work. They're not trying. Look where I come from. I have to pay for high school. High school is free here. We come from a poverty, real poverty. So when you come from real poverty, and not everybody does, but I'll talk about my personal family. And then they come here and they see things are free, and they see might see some young people not taking advantage. They're like, "What the heck is going on? What's wrong with you?" That's the mindset that they're coming from. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't people who are like that, who fit that narrative of not trying or not taking advantage X, Y, and Z. But we have to look from both perspectives. Coming here, we have to have an understanding of what Black people have gone through here and understand, hey, yes, they are technically the richest people in the world, but there's Black people, but there's still some things that happen to have us understand, as you said, put some color to it, right? And then understanding here that, you know, hey, they see us like this. Wow, maybe I need to look at a different perspective. For example, a lot of Black Americans who've left America and gone to Africa have been very successful, sometimes more successful than the Africans in certain parts. Sometimes it's a dollar, but it's also coming with a different perspective. When you are in a place and you've never left nowhere and all you know is your struggle,
that was the next point.
Struggle. And then a people who come from a different place and come to you, they're like, struggle, opportunity. You know what I'm saying? So that is where the conversation needs to take place. But as far as in the buffer cloud, we ain't nobody.
I really recommend travel.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Passport is important.
You have to.
A client of mine, I have a Nigerian client. She came over here, her and her husband, they're doctors in New York City. And she's got 3 practices. And she said, Selesia, I don't, she said, when we look at Black Americans, we don't blame them. She said, because I came over here and I was able to, she was like, when I grew up in Nigeria, there was no doubt that I could be a doctor. She was like, that was like, oh girl, you're gonna be a doctor. But she said here, a lot of it, so she was saying how it starts in the home, and because of the brokenness of 400 years and institutionalized racism, a little kid in the hood doesn't think that they can get up, they can grow up to become a doctor. And she was like, so I don't blame you guys. So it goes to Chrissy's point, we're saying we're missing out on opportunities. If you don't think you have a way out or hope, you know, you don't see the opportunity. You know how many people Black people I had to show how to get some of this SBA money that was out there during this pandemic, you know. So, and she's Nigerian, and she was like, we always grew up knowing that we were going to be doctors. And I think
you also have to think weird. Well, first thing, as I said earlier, is I think that I agree with Pan-Africanism. I do. I believe it. But I also understand that you have to address the issues of where you are currently. So it's nonsensical to think that I'm going to take the same strategies to address and use like what Thomas Sankara did in Burkina Faso. It doesn't make any sense. So when people come here, who immigrate here, you have to get on board with what is going on here. You cannot see it through the lens of what you were doing over there. And I'm very much involved in education and trying to make changes in the DOE. So when you also have to understand, and I said it before, but I'm going to say it again, when you strip culture from people, they don't know who they are. They cannot see who they are. I don't care how poor you are. You still have an opportunity to do something because you know who
you are.
And when you're dealing with the American people here during integration, they were indoctrinated within white history. So you have,
decision.
And I don't want to go too far to the education. You have, if you look at the numbers, Black students are underperforming. The general consensus is that they are underperforming in every single state in this country. They are at the bottom. And we have to ask ourselves why. And you have this cognitive dissonance where we are taking our Black children and basically teaching them to praise white folk.
Exactly.
If you are someone who came here from Nigeria, some of my people from Ghana or from Jamaica, and you know who you are. You might have been in poverty, but you know who you are. That spirit is on always within you. So when you come in, yeah, I am somebody. I may be poor, I may be black, but the people here, there's no, these kids sit in the classroom and they believe that Abraham Lincoln and George Washington and these white people
who never told a lie, right?
But
So
Kaya, is it Kaya? Is it Kaya?
Right.
Kaya.
I can't.
But it's deeper. It's deeper than that.
Somebody, come on.
It's deeper than that, though. And the reason why our black kids are at the bottom, it's just the system of how they're being taught. You know what I'm saying? And so I get them when they come to my classroom at the college level, and they get up and do a presentation. They can barely read. So
Exactly.
there's basic reading and writing, and they can't put a sentence together.
Oh my God.
K through 12 is a disaster. That's a whole different. But it's
also black students, black folks do not learn. Black boys in particular do not learn the same way as other, and they will dismiss it within the DOE. They will ignore it.
Very true.
They don't want to hear different people. Our spirit. We are spirit people, and how we learn, how we take things is very different. I'm not Albert Einstein. I'm not going to say, hey, I'm going to judge your level of capability, and if they have a bear, if they have a lion, and if they have a fish, and they say, everybody's got to climb this tree. Well, then you know what? A fish would go its entire life thinking that it's stupid.
That's right.
Education, if they don't learn the same way, they're saying, well, this is the way you got to learn.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's a bigger issue.
By the time they hit the 3rd or 4th grade, it is
well,
this is why black people need to teach black children. That's why I always listen. We need to secede from this system of education, economics.
Yeah, even at the college level, I took out, and I told my dean and my chair, I was like, you're reaching out to a group of people. They're coming through your doors. It's black and brown folks, right? They don't learn the same. So I stopped doing Scantron tests. I stopped doing tests. I haven't done tests in 10, 15 years. People looked at me like, you're crazy. But the way they were learning was case studies, group discussion, and presentations, certain other, we learn differently. And I don't know what's going to happen with K through 12. That is a monster. And I don't know.
One thing that has always been the Achilles heel of this country is the education system, right? And I think our method of educating our children in this country is absolutely horrendous. So that's why I always strongly advocate for black people sending their children to black schools, us owning our own educational institutions and apparatus, because everyone learns differently. I've seen this. I used to teach speech and debate, in middle school, and just to see how different students grasp information. Students who were typically considered, the slow one in the class, they were the ones that were excelling in my class. So I understand that it's nuanced and everyone learns differently. So you can't take this one standardized approach to education that's already customized and tailor-made to a specific group. That's one of the methods that is used to teach black children and black people that they are stupid.
But do you remember, Tony? Do you remember No Child Left Behind? Do you remember that? That was one of the worst policies. It was a Bush law.
But why do we have white people making all these decisions on how black people should be educated anyway?
But Tony, it's in every facet. It's in every facet of our lives. It's not just education. It's not just education, because what ends up happening is we're talking about the issues that we're having with education. But if they can't get you in the education, then they'll get you in the economics. So then you'll be indoctrinated with their version of what economics should be, which is giving them your wages. And then if they can't get you in the economics, then they'll get you in religion. So if I won't do it because of education, if I won't do it because of religion, if I won't do it because of politics, then I'll do it because this is what my religion says I should be doing or whatever, which is still their religion.
Oh, you're also talking about the testing. So while black people should teach black children, we also have to do
our own curriculum
in terms of the testing. Because
Absolutely.
if you're talking about reading, writing, and arithmetic, this is one of the oppressive factors that are used against us all of the time. You got a person like Jay-Z who doesn't write anything down, remembers every single song that he ever wrote. And imagine if he was tested in a written form, you would say that something is wrong with him. But no one can say that something is wrong with the Jay-Z because you're testing him using a standard that he's not going to do well in. So
Right.
if we're looking at our children and we're using the metric of reading, writing, and arithmetic and watch them fall short, these are the very people who go out into the field and run circles around every single industry, but can't get the credentialing necessary to say that they can do what they're in fact running circles around. So I watch that in so many different industries. I watch that in the electrician industry, the plumbing industry.
Yes, that's right.
These people who are hired by the master plumbers to do the work, and they can do far better than the work of the master plumber, but they can't get the credential.
That's how I started. Yeah, you're right.
Kept away from the money as a result of this credentialing, and this is further reinforced in the school system.
Yo, you're so right.
It's reinforced in every system,
I
every facet of our lives. It's not just education.
Go ahead, Craig.
Can I jump in? I jumped back on. I have to update my iPad. I don't know if my audio is better. It's better now.
It's
Yeah, we
better.
can hear you.
Yes.
Okay, great. I jumped back on after I updated it. But also, when you guys were talking about the ADOS and the division that is creating, and I do agree that it is creating the division. I just wanted to add some context to the hold your nuts rhetoric that's out there right now, and I believe that statement came out around the talks surrounding reparations, around the time that Tariq Nasheed, around the early stages of the talks of reparations came out. He started getting a lot of pushback with black people, and specifically saying, well, we don't need reparations. They started parroting this pull yourself up by your bootstrap rhetoric that we usually hear from white supremacists. So then what he started to do was identify who these people were who were mainly pushing back on the idea that we needed reparations, and he was identifying them as mostly Caribbean. And I think that's where the division started.
Really?
Yes.
No.
So so the hold your nuts wasn't supposed to be a saying that divided us. It was basically a strategy. It was saying that America, you guys help us, foundational Black Americans, get our reparations from the United States, and then when it's your turn, we'll help you get your reparations from the Queen. So that's how it originally started. It morphed into something different.
That's a bad strategy, Craig. That's a terrible strategy.
Bro.
Right now, it's being used as a weapon to divide us and say, well, you're Caribbean, you're not for us. That's not our situation.
What does hold your own nuts mean?
That's
no,
a terrible
I'm telling you.
I don't mean hold yours and then I'm gonna hold mine, or I'm gonna hold yours and you hold mine.
Right. I was there in the first 2 lives, and that's how it began. I just wanted to add context.
But let me ask though. But what makes Tariq Nasheed or anybody else, anyone else, the authority on?
It's not the authority. That's his stick.
I'm not saying you. I'm not saying you're saying that, brother. I'm not saying you're saying that. But what I'm saying is, like, it's something that I said earlier. We have specific people or representatives, people who have platforms that always seem to guide the conversation, and whether intentionally or not, they tend to derail certain conversations. And for me, that's a problem, because sometimes we get a little bit reckless with these platforms, and we're not even looking down in the comment section to see the type of rhetoric that we're inspiring.
Right.
So
but Craig just said something. Craig just said that's his shtick. That's how he monetizes it. How do you stop and combat that, where people are trying to make money off a movement?
But if you listen to what Chrissy said, you can even add validity to the idea. The people that were on his lives pushing back and saying that we don't need any reparations, that we have so many opportunities. Just like Chrissy said, there's people from other countries who believe that somehow we have all these opportunities in America and we're just letting them fly by us, or we're not.
But there were mad black Americans saying the same thing. So why is it?
I'm not.
Do y'all think it's fake bots?
Hold on,
You think it's bots?
You
think it's all fake?
Let me just finish my point. I'm not saying I agree. I'm just trying to explain and give context to the conversation so that we can dissect it together. But what I'm saying is the point that Caribbean people who he was identifying on his live to be the ones pushing back and saying that we don't need reparations, that we can make it without any type of handout. Chrissy point that Caribbeans view us as having so much opportunities. You can understand that Caribbean people do have that mindset, that they may have that mindset that, oh yes, we don't need any handout. There's so much opportunities here that we can make it without all of that. I come from poverty. I came to this country and I've done so much without any reparations. So you have to look at that piece of it and understand how it turned into this.
That's not what reparations is. It's reparations.
That's not the definition of it. That's what it is.
Right, exactly. And I'm not saying that reparations is a handout. I'm saying that that's what
some people perceive it as.
Viewed as a handout.
Yeah. Right. And that's why I think that when the concept of ADOS and FBA came up, I was all for it. I think that's great. You know what I mean? I think that you should. There's nothing wrong with, like, I saw some pushback, like, oh, well, y'all say y'all Jamaican and Trini. I don't see nothing wrong with that. I mean, that we have a 500-year history and culture that has been built. Our food, our traditions, our mannerisms, our storytelling. I'm not going to just throw that away because we in the States. Right. And that doesn't mean I don't love you. That don't mean you're not my brother. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with me having a cultural identity. No, I'm not saying that. That's what you're saying. I'm just adding.
I'm just trying to represent the other side of the argument when
so
that conversation comes out, is that here we don't want you not to love yourself, but you have to view it as you have something to cling to, even though you're black or we share that ethnic camaraderie.
Racial.
You still have a flag that you can cling to. We don't have a flag, and they actually project, the word Yankee and American onto us, and we don't want to. We came here as slaves. We don't want to be here. We're not holding the American flag and saying, we're American, but Caribbeans will come here and say, well, you're American, you don't know anything, or in jest.
Okay,
and that's why I just wanted.
I don't want to get into the tit for tat. And that's the only thing, because
no, I'm not tit for tatting.
You call me Yankee, you call me coconut.
Right.
No, I'm not saying you're doing that.
Right.
But my thing with all of that said, real quick, but my thing with all of that said is, isn't there a certain level of, let's say, responsibility that people who have certain platforms should kind of adhere to if they know that they have sizable followings? That's my question in all this, because however it started, if it was a couple of Caribbean people being stupid and trolling him, you don't even know who it was, to be honest with you, but whatever, at what point do you take accountability for maybe taking something and kind of gaslighting something a little bit? Because at the end of the day, I don't care if you like the brother, you don't like him, because I actually, listen, I like him. I think he's hilarious. But as of late, I'm getting real turned off because every damn second word out of his mouth is an insult to Caribbean people and immigrants. And people can see that. You know what I'm saying? So for me, that is stoking division.
Right. I just wanted to finish my point. The point that I was trying to make was when, I know Yvette Carnell started talking about ADOS and he started talking about FBA. I was like, that's great. There's nothing wrong with identifying. Yes, we're all black, but I have a specific history. I have a specific experience, and this is specifically who I am. I thought that was great. I'm like, why y'all do that all this time? There's nothing wrong with that. You can identify, hey, I'm a foundational Black American. And I'm like, okay, cool. We're still Black at the end of the day, but it just defines that you have a specific history. And when it comes to certain conversations, like if you're talking about reparations, I don't think we're talking about FBA reparations. I don't think Caribbean people should be, unless you're supportive, don't come and counter that. That's not your place. That's inappropriate. And that is the importance of identifying, hey, we are FBA. Oh, you're a Jamaican? Okay, well, this reparations talk, you don't agree with it? It's none of your business anyway, because you wasn't going to get it no way. This is a specific we're all Black, but this is an ethnic conversation that we're having about our specific experience, how we feel about it, and what we deserve based on our direct ancestors. There was absolutely nothing wrong with that. I thought that was great. The problem is, as I said, it catapulted into, I was a tether all of a sudden and all kind of stuff, and Caribbean coon and Caribbean.
That's the thing. It doesn't have to be predicated upon hostilities to other groups. That's my point. None of this has to be predicated upon hostilities.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you can define yourself, but that doesn't mean you have to tear someone else down. Like, oh, and I was here, and we wouldn't be here because of me. So I'm not. That's great. I understand that and I appreciate it.
You know what? At the end of the day, you know what this looks like? This looks like children fighting.
That happens all the time.
Yeah, I'm not like the whole.
It looks like children fighting over what daddy's going to give us.
So then what do we do then? What do we do about it? Because you're going to have people on. You're going to have people on both sides based upon their experiences, and everybody on here. I think everybody on here is in agreement that we need each other no matter where you're coming from. Everybody,
I agree with that.
But we're all individuals as a collective on both sides. What do the Americans and the other immigrants coming in, what do they collectively do?
I think we just all need to support each other. I know it sounds very simple, but support
simple to me.
Exactly. And I feel like you have a brother, you and your brother box, you and your brother have issues, but somebody on the outside come talking smack to you, like, whoa, that's a different story. So we have our little disagreements. It happens here and there, but when we have outsiders harming anybody,
because they're just doing this.
That's what the code is.
It does require you to step outside your comfort zone. Like me, I got friends, and I hang. You see, I'm on this live, and Tony be going hard. Okay, but I got friends, I got people. I don't mind going in uncomfortable spaces. Because I don't know everything, so I'm learning a lot tonight. I was supposed to get off about an hour or so ago, but this is interesting to me. This is fun, but you gotta go in the. I can hold my own, but you gotta go into the fire, into the dens. You know what I'm saying? I think we are a lot of Black folks are in their little boxes.
They're in their 2 blocks that they've been in all their lives.
Yeah, I want Kaya to go. Brother Kaya to speak. After Kaya speaks, we're gonna we have like about 10 minutes left. So after Kaya speaks, I'm just gonna kind of let everyone wrap it up with their thought for the night. But go ahead, brother.
I think a huge problem, and I've taken upon myself to know the history of Black folks in America and of Black folks, period, throughout the world. I think when you don't know the history, I think so many times people misspeak, or a lot of them simply don't know what they're talking about. When we're talking about reparations, if they knew that, the Black people in America whose money was taken from them in the first Freedmen Banks, that is money earned that was taken from them. So when we're talking about others that would dare say anything about reparations, Black people in America, the Black Americans built this country for free. We don't say anything to the Japanese who received reparations. We don't say anything to the Treaty of Versailles that they advocated for Jews to receive reparations. So many other groups received reparations. We don't say anything to this very day to the Native Americans, specifically from the 5 civilized tribes who pushed out the Black Americans from the Native American Treaty.
I remember that.
Who are due those reparations, so who received the free college tuitions, the casinos, till this very day. The great Obama actually advocated for and giving them more money, and Black Americans were saying, hey, a lot of these people are descendants from slaves, and when the 5 civilized tribes enslaved the Black people, they were instructed to give them the same reparations, and they are violating the Native American treaty. So I get very offended, I get very worked up when people would dare say anything regarding reparations to the Black folks in America, because no one says anything to any other race, any other ethnic, any other group pertaining these issues. If you come from Ghana, if you come from Nigeria, a lot of my people do, if you come from Jamaica, if you come from Trinity, as I said, you are Black in America, and you had best get on board with what is going on
here. That's right.
For a reason. You're not going back home. You're here. So that means that, hey, while you're here, perhaps I ought to work with the people who are here. And if I was in Ghana right now, then I would get on board with what the politics, the issues are in Ghana. So we need to stop this and get focused to what's going on while we are here.
Listen, can I just say that I love hearing this brother speak? Man, where have you been, Kaya? Damn.
Tony, I saw you make a comment about King one time, and I said, "Oh, I got a friend request him." And every time I commented on his stuff, so I'm happy to be a part of this forum with a group of Black brothers and sisters. I'm very happy. As you can see, I am very pro-Black, and I am very anxious to give us our history. It's so infuriating and frustrating that we fall for these tricks because we don't know the history. We don't know.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So I know we covered a lot.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate you guys hanging out this long. Brother Chaka, I know I'd like to give you the floor for a moment. I mean, we did cover a bunch of things, right? We talked about the jab, the mandates by our bozo man.
You stop calling it a jab.
Well, because I think because of the algorithm, it's gonna then you're gonna have the sign of misinformation.
I don't want to go over, but you do have to realize. No. You do have to realize that some of your friends, people that you're close with, and I had to be mindful too. I don't advocate for it or against it. Some of them do have the vaccine, so that makes them feel a certain way.
When you say the jab, my bad.
You have empathy, a little empathy.
No, you're right. You know what? It's in no way to disparage anyone who's taking it, and that to me is kind of like the funny thing about it, because everyone I know,
call it the shot.
The shot, but the majority, actually everybody I know who is involved in this conversation, it's never to condemn people for choosing to take it. The condemnation is in this requirement that you have to take it.
Right. Take it out on not your
friend. No. Hold on, but it's not just the government, because listen, all you gotta do is go to the comment section. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the amount of vitriol, the amount of nastiness and wickedness that I'm seeing from people who have taken the shot, many of them joking and wishing overtly, outright wishing death upon people who do not take that shot. This is real, and this is happening, and this is the discourse, and that's why I say the media, they're really clever. They're really clever about pushing this type of thing. And whenever you get people to a point where they're afraid, you can get them to do anything. And I think this whole situation is revealing the true character of a lot of people.
Yeah,
and I'm talking about family.
Yeah,
I'm talking about friends.
It gets stupid. It's very stupid.
But at the end of the day, there is no judgment. Listen, to be honest with you, the people I know, when people I know, that take it, I'm more concerned for them. That's the honest truth of it. I would say maybe 80% of the people that I know, and I know a lot of people who have taken it, have expressed regret to me. And almost all of them have said they've taken it because of pressure or coercion. And that's the wrong reason to do it. Now, some people, if you want to take it and you feel that it's the safest route for you, great. But you got to make that decision. You got to really inform yourself. You got to do your research. And if you believe that's the right decision for you, I support you and I pray for you. But you don't have the right to castigate and chastise and demonize people who choose autonomy over their own bodies. How dare you?
Right, it's the same. It's on both sides,
Right, but so it's not people. We're not anti-vax. We're anti-forced.
No. It's three groups. It's people. It's anti-vax. There's some people that don't do vaccines. And then it's people that want information or just don't want to
Right.
put this
Yeah,
particular thing
but
in
we
the body.
cannot ignore the fact that the people who do not want to take this experimental serum, they are being labeled.
See how you got to call it experimental serum?
Oh, I'm sorry. The experimental shot.
Is that not facts now?
The shot. I'm sorry.
Well, it is experimental.
I'm
but-
sorry. The people who refuse to take the shot are being labeled as anti-vax when the majority of them are already vaccinated.
I'm going to post a video on my page tomorrow for Dr.
They just choose
So
not to take.
I want to say good night to everyone. My phone is about to die. So I want to say good night to everyone. I appreciate.
Final thoughts, then. You got. Go ahead. Final thoughts, quick.
Really quick. Look, we need to continue these forums that we have. I think it's very informative. I'm personally trying to do the work with a lot of the upcoming administration, Eric Adams, a lot of work within the DOE. I encourage all those to watch my videos where I give the history. You can disagree, but I just want us to know. I want us to know the history. I am pro-Black. I want us to stop always constantly being behind the 8 ball. Always. When you know the history, you know the tricks, you know the rhythm, you know what's coming. You don't get caught off guard, going forward. And as far as us working together, I just want to say that we should not be given, oh, do you want segregation or integration? Do you want that? No, they don't ask any other group, any other race that question. As I said earlier, when you are ethno-aggregate amongst each other, and then you have the choice on whether or not you want to do business or move with another race, that is where we need to be, ethno-aggregate amongst each other. We need to be unapologetic and pro-Black. I do not hate other races. I do not dislike other races, but I'm going to do for me and mine before I'm going to do for anyone else. And I don't have a problem with it. I don't care whether you like it or not.
That's right. And do not apologize for it. Brother, we appreciate having you here. Final thoughts, brother.
All right.
Yes, we'll talk soon. Brother Chaka, the floor is yours, brother.
Well, I am currently upset with a few of the situations that we spoke about. Certainly the anti-vaccine rhetoric. I feel like it is producing a dual citizenship, so to speak, where you have people who are othering people. And I think that that's a very dangerous narrative. And just like my brother just said, in terms of us not knowing our history, we're doomed to repeat it. This is exactly the very situation that allowed Hitler to come to fruition by blaming another group of people and them moving to do things that they weren't able to do as a result of the rhetoric and the propaganda. And if we're not careful, we can find ourselves in a very similar space. This situation that's being done is completely unconstitutional. And it appears that the reason why they're doing it is they're looking to take advantage of the process, knowing that in order for us to overturn this, it's going to take a political process. And by the time that political process is over, then they would already meet their demands.
That's exactly what I said.
Will automatically have acquiesced. And we're talking about a small remnant that is still remaining. I think that we have to, like you talk about, Brother Tony, we do have to have a code and we have to have an umbrella so that we can all come to unify underneath it so that we can now move towards that code and move towards the unity. If where there's unity, there is strength. And if we continue to move towards unity and get that strength, then nothing will be able to stop us. We will be able to have a system now to govern our behavior and to judge whether we are doing things that are helping us collectively or not helping us collectively. We have to certainly take advantage of going into either mental health services or doing something deliberately about the trauma that we've been experienced that continues to compound and gets we continue to get re-traumatized by these situations. There is a system now. This system that we're seeing is not a new one where we're watching Haitians being forces and whips and everything else. This is further evidence to us and our subconscious that we will always be less than, because you're watching on the news how other immigrants or other people are not treated like this. And in every situation where Black people come into contact with white people on television, it's always in a way to make us less than, and that continues to remain in our psyche as we move forward and try to gain equity and equality here in this system.
All right, brother. I appreciate that. I appreciate your comment, Dr. Selesia.
Shaka and Kaya be going in. They be going in. Well, I think I do. I just want to say that I think we should work together more. We should stop criticizing each other for choices. It's all about respect, and I think too, we have to stay on code. I really like that, Tony. I like that. And I think we have to be solution oriented. It's all about money to me, economics. And it took me a long time. I have progressed in my views. I've become more progressive. I do vote, I have voted for the Democratic Party since the 90s with Sweet Willie and Mr. Clinton and the whole Monica Lewinsky scandal, but we won't go there. But I have become more progressive. So, people like Bernie and AOC and other people, I have become more progressive. So I do think, like you said, people evolve over time and you have to allow people to evolve, but you also have to be open to other ideas. And I think getting on code as Black, because at the end of the day, it's about Black people to me.
That's right.
Now, if something go down, that's what I said, Biden, you dropped the ball. You go to my Twitter, I'll go in. I'll be tweeting his ass, Kamala ass, everybody ass. Twitter is where I really turn up because I know they be looking at that feed. So I stay on people. I do the emails and all that stuff. I don't know if it's going to work or whatever, but I think we have to stay on code. And I think it's going to start with conversations like this. Chrissy's different than Shaka and Craig and Tristan. He has a very unique perspective. Tristan kind of hardcore too over there. But I think you should do this every other week. I think you should have this community hall every other week. I think you should, where my brain is going. You already know where I want to go.
Yeah, I know. I
think this should, because if we keep consistent with this, maybe even once a month or every other week, all the way up into the midterms. Because and this was my point. It's not to say to take up for people. What I'm saying is, Democrats are riding on the midterms because they could lose the House or the Senate. So if we keep this community hall going all the way up until election, because they care about that, and the demands haven't been met or things haven't happened, I can see a mass revolt. You know what I'm saying? I can see them getting a wipeout, and they're gonna look stupid at the end of the day. So I think this conversation, that's why I think people are speaking up more. That's all I was trying to say is, if you do this show every other week, we got to put pressure on these people. We have to put pressure on them. And I think you got to do this show because, like you said, what kind of show is out there like this? Who's talking about these issues? Now, on one hand, I get nervous. Like, do you think if white people start watching, they're going to know the info?
They're going to start reporting.
That's what I'm saying. Are they going to report us?
Shut them down.
Yo.
That's my only thing, but I think you got to stay on this conversation, and I think it's about how we talk to people, and we're not going to always agree, but this is really, really important. I think it's life or death at this moment.
Well, you got that right. I definitely agree with that. I appreciate your commentary. That was, I'm really happy to hear all of these perspectives. You kind of revitalized me to maybe come back to doing this community town hall, because I really do think it's important to have so many the myriad of perspectives, because so often we're presented as with this one narrow representation that's presented about us through the media, and it doesn't represent the collective. I'm sorry, it does not. And people will say, oh, that's just this media personality. But those are the only people that they default to when it's time to discuss the things that affect us directly. So It is very important, the people that they select as their designated Black representatives. So we got to really get on code, and we have to try to have these conversations, not just here, but in more, lives, more platforms. I always talk about it, building our own media. This is very important. Independent media is very important, but we also have to try to figure out a formula of getting off of these platforms like Facebook and YouTube. I know people monetize this and that, that's nice, but with the level of censorship that we are seeing, do we really have control over our own voices? If we're honest with each other, are we really in control of our own voice? And if we are not, what are we going to do about it? We always complain and talk about the issues that we face in this country, but we have to start talking more about what are we going to do about it. So I agree with you, Dr. Selesia, when you said, you're more solution oriented, as am I, and as are the rest of the people in this live here. And I think the more we expose those people, the more it can inspire other people to act, other people to get involved, other people to use their voices. Because in this environment that we are currently in, people are afraid to speak up. People are being bullied, they're being coerced, they're being intimidated in many different facets. And we have to push back against that at all costs. Brother Craig.
Yeah, so I want to identify the being on code, because I know we said it a lot. And I think being on code means that being on code is being proactive and not reactive. I believe before the election, I believe that Ice Cube was on code, and I believe that he was being proactive. That was a great opportunity for us to be on code. We have to support people that are willing to put their reputation, their livelihood, put their neck on the line to take all the incoming fire for having those uncomfortable ideas, uncomfortable positions, supporting Black agenda, supporting a Black agenda. And I think that was an opportunity for us to be on code. It's not just being on code is not just saying, okay, yes, I'm going to vote for a Black female vice president just because she's a Black female vice president, and ignore all of the red flags that she has in her career, in her history as DA, as AG. I think that's not being on code. Being on code is putting your race first, whether it's a Democrat or whether it's a Republican-led agenda. If it's supporting the Black specific, not people of color, which includes other minorities, specifically for Black people, that's being on code. Being on code also means that sometimes you have to call out the people that you like. You may like the Obamas, you may like Hillary Clinton, you may like Kamala Harris because of surface level things, or she projects some type of cultural proximity to us by wearing Converse, or Hillary Clinton had hot sauce in her bag. Like, these things we have to ignore and say, listen, either you have a Black agenda that centers the Black conditions here in America, or you don't. It doesn't matter if you're the first Black male, female, whatever. If you're not centering us, then we can't support you. That's what being on code is making uncomfortable choices and supporting people that are going against the status quo sometimes. So also being on code means that we have to start ignoring the Black faces that are in high places that are kind of leading us off a cliff. The talking heads that are that have these big platforms, like the Roland Martins and the Amanda Seals and the Angela Rise and the DL Hugleys. Being on code means that we have to recognize that these people, they're not for us. They are brought and sold by the status quo. So being on code means that as much as we like them, we know that they are, they are going against what is in the best interest of the Black agenda. So that is part of being on code. Being on code also means that we have to be able to call out our activists who are careful in what they say and the words that they use just so that they can get into the position. So once I get into that position and that elected office, then I can start making moves, but only to see that once they get into that position, they still can't, cape for Black people, because they may lose that position if they go too hard for us. So it's like when they was on the way up, they couldn't say or go too hard for Black people. But then when they get in the position, they can't go too hard for Black people. We have to be able to call them out and hold their feet to the fire. So I just think that we have to really understand that being on code is not always going to be comfortable, and it does require that you have to hold people feet to the fire, even the people that we like.
Yes, sir.
That's what being on code is.
I appreciate that, brother. I appreciate that. Chrissy, I saw your face, Selesia. But
I'm
Chrissy,
just gonna say leave Angela Rye out of this.
Okay.
Now Roland Martin, I can't stand him, but that's
listen, everyone has their own opinions, and the opinions of each individual do not represent. Yeah, right.
I love Craig. I see his little comments all the time. I just busting his chops.
Okay, Chrissy, the floor is yours.
Well, I think that sorry, I kind of missed some of what's the question again? Because I was gone for a minute.
Final thoughts.
Oh, final thoughts. No, you can't say hi. Okay. So you know who that is, Craig. Lord,
Yeah.
here we go. But he's supposed to be sleeping. He's not sleeping. But I enjoy this conversation. It's in my stomach what's happening to our Black brethren at the border. The Haitians at the border. It's in my stomach. It's in my spirit. It's in my breath. It's just icky. And I just don't know what the immediate solution is. I know there are organizations on the ground. I did want to say that. I think one is called Haitian Alliance. If anyone wants to look them up, donate to them.
Yeah, I donated.
Haitian led on the ground. ATL Haiti is another organization on the ground. They're going to be serving the people at the border, and also sending barrels to Haiti to help people after the earthquake. And hopefully that will get to some of the people who were illegally deported. I do think that as far as elections, all that back and forth we like to do and wait and see, that's over. This is a different era. We don't realize it. They call this the Great Reset. That's what this is. This whole thing where we have these almost like totalitarian governments. We have all these kind of mandates and X, Y, and Z. No. It's the Great Reset. I'm so sorry. Okay, sorry. When you have young children, they don't care. But yeah, it's the Great Reset. And they're restructuring this country in a way that you're gonna be so overwhelmed with other groups, your vote don't mean nothing no more. That would just happen. That was the last chance. And if for some reason in this country we keep making the wrong decisions and thinking that later it's going to work out, and that's not going to happen. We're at a point right now that I think you can forget politics. Maybe you can, the midterms, do what you can, but for the most part, forget politics. You're not going to get anything out of it. If this was not the most blatant disrespect of how Black Haitians are being treated at the border, if this does not let you know in your face, we don't give a damn about you, okay? They've just put all their cards on the table because they already know they don't need your vote anyway, so they can go all out in the disrespect. If this is not it for you, I don't know what will be, but next election, they're not going to talk about the Black vote, because there's not going to be a Black vote. They're going to have the Afghan vote. They're going to have the Latino vote souped up. They're bringing some Indians in with the visas. They're going to have everybody else. You're done. So at this point, since we're out of the political game, let's work on getting in the economic game with each other to the best of our ability as our only line of defense. And we have to get really serious about that. If you are a conscious, awake Black person, and you have your child in one of these schools and they're fighting, talking about, they're not teaching X, Y, and Z, and you keep your child there, you love oppression. You like to just talk about it. You're not serious. You know what I'm saying? Get your children out of these schools. There are African-centered schools. Nation of Islam has stellar schools, fantastic schools. My children go to some, might I add. They're wonderful. You can homeschool. You can find other ways. And if I couldn't find that, my thing was like, okay, can I find other Black parents? Can we do a homeschool co-op? You know what? I know on this day I get off work early. I'll teach this day. You teach that way. You create a schedule. There are teachers associations. There are Black teachers associations. Call them. This is what I do. Call them. Find out. You run homeschools. How would you run it? We can do things if we want to. That's why when I talked about there being resources in this country, just got to find out. I'm not saying all the other stuff don't exist, but just sitting down and talking about what they doing to us and not doing anything for ourselves. We'll be here 500, our children's children will be here 500 years later talking about what they doing to us. No, we can do, even if it's 2 cents. How can I take my 2 cents and your 2 cents and make 4 cents? And what can we do with it? That's what we need to be focusing on. So we need to focus on, I know Ray. No, I'm not going to do that. I know racism is real, but I'm not even focused on racism as much right now as trying to figure out how can I get my people out of this hole? How can I make sure I'm not in a hole? And how can my people get out of a hole? How can we get out of it together? Because once we get out of a hole, that thing that happened at the border will not happen. We cannot vote that away. We cannot pray that away. We cannot assimilate that away. Okay, you cannot change someone's nature. We talk about nature, and for some reason, after 400 years, we still don't understand nature. You're dealing with a people with a different nature. It's not going to change. Your grandparents tried, your great-grandparents tried, your great-great-great-great-grandparents tried, and they were unsuccessful. Find something else to do. That is over. So we need to focus on us and building and being serious about business, entrepreneurship. If you don't want to take the shots, then you need to start thinking about entrepreneurship, putting things in place. Don't wait for the UN envoy to be outside your door, knocking on your door to give you your mandatory shot. Store up food. Get a generator. Generator's like $2,000. You can get a small generator. Learn how to do things. There are preparedness classes online. We're moving into a different era, and we have to stop being victims. I'm over victimhood. I'm about being proactive now. So let's get on that page, Black people.
Yes. Beautiful. I love participating on these panels with you guys because there's just so much intelligence. Listen. It's like I don't even need to say anything. I don't even know what to say. I mean, be proactive. I mean, instead of reactive, as you said, Craig. I mean, we really have to do that. And one of the things I think we've kind of lost touch on is the way that our ancestors were, long ago, because all the things that they did were with a vision of what was to come.
Resourceful.
They did all the things they did were with a sight of what they wanted for the future generations. And this society teaches us to be so self-centered. It's all about me. Don't care about anybody else. That it disconnects us from our true nature. So, Brother Tristan, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
With your final thought.
I really appreciate being on this panel and enjoyed hearing just the insight from everybody else that was on this panel. I think we all kind of learn different pieces and are able to glean from each other in order to put what's going to be best for us individually so that we can, as a collective, be better. I know that a lot of things were said as far as final thoughts. What I will say is that, and what I've been saying for a little while now is a lot of people just aren't going to make it. I think we have to come to that realization that a lot of people are not going to make it. And I say that because when it comes to everything that we talked about, we have to understand that all of our oppression is not just in one area. It's not just in the education system. It's not just in politics. It's not just in our social, things that we're into. It's in every facet of our lives. The major facets of our lives is financial, education, religion, political, and I always forget, in healthcare. So kind of what I was saying earlier, which is You know, if they can't get us in education, so okay, we didn't get them there, then we'll get them, you know, in healthcare. I'll do it because, you know, because I believe in healthcare. I believe in the science about different things. If they can't get you there, then they'll get you in politics. Okay, I'm locked in with this group, so I gotta toe the line for this group. If they can't get you in politics, then they'll get you in the financial system. You know, I got to do this because I got to get my money on, you know, me and mine, you know. But if they can't get you there, then they get you in religion. And a lot of time we skip and gloss over religion, not looking at it, that it also siphons money from our communities. It also keeps us dormant and docile, and always keeps us, oh well, like Chrissy said, we just gonna pray this thing away. We gonna change the hearts of them. If we just talk to them, and we can pray with them, and then we can change their hearts or whatever. But their nature, like she said, their nature is their nature. You know, and it's not just people who are a different skin color, it's also our folk too, you know. So once we, like we've been saying, get it on code, you know, a lot of people according to that code aren't going to make it. And I think that, you know, a lot of us here, we are focused on, you know, we're definitely focused on that economic, because nobody in any situation, it's like, you know, when you have people who try to talk, but they didn't put in anything, they try to make decisions and stuff. That's where we are.
Yes.
You know, and it's not necessarily our fault, but that is where we are. And we're trying to do what they say. Oh, this is how you can come up. They're not going to tell you how to get power. Power isn't given. Power is taken. And then when we get to a point, we got to get to a point to where we can just say no. Oh, well, we got to vote. No, you don't.
Exactly.
You got to do something. You got to support something. No, you don't. If we as a collective just said no, what could we change?
The power of no.
What could we change? As a collective, we're not participating because we're taking our kids out of your school system. We're not putting our money in your banks that you use to fund the very things to oppress us. We're not participating in all of these other things because, honestly, we did talk about spending and how much we spend. We are hyper spenders. They live off of our spending.
Yeah. Yes.
And if we just kept our leverage and spent with ourselves, do you know what would change? Even with we just saw something where down in Texas, they were not allowing the parents to be a part of the school board meeting, and they were keeping them out. And so don't you know, instead of you crying about they won't let us do this, take your kids out of the school.
Yep.
They get paid based upon butts being in the seats.
Yeah.
As soon as you start taking your kids out of the schools, they're going to come right back to you. What do we got to do? Oh, we'll stop all this nonsense. But you got too many people and too many selected people that they select as going to be our leaders or people that we follow because they know that we love symbolism. They know that we love being a part of something. As soon as and we start dictating as to who we're going to follow or who, you know, they most of the time are selecting them for us right now. So we got to look at every faucet, not just one. It's every faucet of our lives and digress and keep economically everything within our community, period.
That's right. And, you know, there's nothing more powerful than unified action. You know, and I think, you know, the media, the government, they know this, which is why they work so hard to keep us divided, you know. So I guess I'll kind of just put my little final thoughts. And it's not really much to say, but I just do want to kind of put this seed in people's minds. You know, the easiest way for us to discount valuable information, the easiest way for us to dismiss a valuable point of view is through labeling people. And that's the major tool that the media uses in order to keep us separated, as I said before. Because when you label someone as other, when you call somebody, oh, they're a right winger or a Trump supporter, or they're a left winger, a libtard, or whatever you want to call them, it becomes very easy for you to just completely dismiss anything that they have to say and remain in your own bubble of delusion. So I think this whole notion of speaking your truth, I've always found that to be a ridiculous statement, because it kind of conditions people to believe that you can just believe whatever you want to believe and it will manifest into truth. And that's the easiest way for you to deny, you know, crucial information that you would need to grow. And the way that I see that people are being treated and being othered, as Brother Chaka said, especially as it pertains to, you know, these mandates and the shot, you know, you know, it always brings me back to thinking, you know, just even how I raise my own children. You know, we teach our children to ask questions, right? That's the only way that you really learn and the way that you grow. There's no such thing as a dumb question. No such thing as a silly question. So whenever you come across someone who does not allow you to ask questions, someone who shames you for asking questions, that is not someone that you can trust. And you know, I'll just end this with just a small quote that I've always said. You know, I feel we have a moral responsibility to always question what we have been taught. You don't have to disagree, but you must question it, because if you don't, you are nothing more than a mouthpiece for someone else's point of view. So with that, I want to thank you all for joining me tonight. This was a beautiful summit. I look forward to doing more of these with you guys, and I would love to have you back on at any time. We'll set up some type of a schedule or something and talk about these issues that really matter. Because in this one conversation tonight, I have absorbed so much spiritual food, so much intellectual nourishment, more than I have within the last years of watching anything in the mainstream media. So I really appreciate this. And you guys just hold on for just 2 seconds and I'll meet you guys in the green room. And I want to thank everybody else who's you guys out there who have been participating in the comment section and watching this live. I love you guys. I appreciate you. And remember, at Community Town Hall, your voice matters. All right. Peace.